citizens of the internet.
This is Evan Rabalais.
Yes.
You're a local stand-up comic.
I am.
And I found you through Reddit.
Yeah, I'm a frequent Reddit user. And I saw you post that a new episode of your podcast. Like, well, always good to reach out and help local other artists do their thing.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Cross-promote.
I'm a big fan of the comedy scene, at least locally, as much as there is one, realistically.
That's my current goal, is to try and build something up.
That's kind of my idea for this place, or kind of the studio thing, is to build a studio space and have sound booths and things like that, so people can come in and do their recording and have access to equipment that they don't typically have access to.
Absolutely.
And do it sort of like the tech shops that they do up north, where you pay a certain amount and you get access to all this great equipment like 3D printers and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a respectable thing. Like, my whole deal is I know I'm not going to be in Baton Rouge forever. As a comedian, you can't be.
Exactly.
The best case scenario for me in Baton Rouge is that it's a place that I come back to and have a place here, but I can't stay
special here.
Yeah,
you're special here.
Exactly. But before I leave to go anywhere else, like Austin, Atlanta, LA, wherever, I want to at least leave something behind for a comedy. I have a new monthly show that I'm running that's really, really fun, really good, and I'm just trying to reintegrate LSU with the comedy scene in Baton Rouge.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's the next big step to making the comedy scene a thing. Is LSU has to at least, the students at LSU have to at least know there's comedy happening. If some kid, 18-year-old kid from Wisconsin, got a scholarship to LSU to come in and is interested in comedy in any capacity, he can go, oh, there's a mic at the station, or oh, the family dinner does improv practice on Sundays, and he can go to those things and become involved with comedy. And because I know people all over the country that live in these small no-shit towns in middle of nowhere, Mississippi, and they've been doing comedy for 6 years, and they've been terrible for 6 years. And all of a sudden, they move to Austin or Atlanta, and that's when they start to develop as a comic. I'm like, I at least want a kid who can be here for LSU, 4 or 5 years. And if he starts doing comedy here, he's not going to have to redevelop when he moves. He can at least have a base and of something to grow on when he moves. So that's what I'm trying to do before I leave.
Well, it's brilliant, man. I like the spirit of the whole idea.
Yeah,
comedy's always been something that's fascinating to me. I got a hold of Carlin albums probably way younger than I was supposed to.
Yeah,
that it probably explains a lot about me.
My dad was a Pryor fan.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. I like some Pryor as well. And so I've always just been a big fan of comedy, and I guess up in the past few years, you see a bunch of comics that are going to podcasting.
Yeah.
I've tried. I haven't done any open mics, to be honest. I'm too much of a chicken shit. I've written material. I've got notebooks of material that I've just basically. I keep a notebook with me. I'm a writer, but I've never published anything.
Well, let me tell you, the worst that'll happen is that it won't be funny.
Yes,
that's literally the worst that can happen.
Exactly. Well, I keep telling myself this shit because I've done all kinds of other crazy shit. I've ridden a motorcycle for the past 9 years.
Wow,
that's it.
That's impressive. I couldn't do that.
Oh man, it's miserable some days, but other days it's the most amazing thing. But at the same time, I also have kids now. I've got another one on the way, so I've got to start stepping away from the motorcycle gig. That's a lot of money that I'm letting go that I don't need to spend anymore, and so I'm trying to divert as much of it into the channel as I can to build something. I want something to be real, and I'm trying to also step away from the corporate gig as fast as I possibly can.
Absolutely. I don't know. I just have this whole idea. Once I started using Reddit more locally, because I've always been on Reddit for several years.
Yeah.
But I started actually being involved with the Baton Rouge subreddit a good bit. I've just noticed there's so many accounts on Reddit that are just there to shit on Baton Rouge or shit on Louisiana. And that's literally their entire purpose as an account.
Louisiana's not necessarily a bad place.
It's not. Out of the South, I've been worse places.
Oh yeah, totally.
But also it's just that idea grew from there. I'm like, well, first of all, if you don't like it that much, fucking move.
Yeah.
And then if you don't want to move, fucking make it better.
Right.
Don't sit here and complain about how shitty and racist or whatever your complaint is with this state or this city is, and then just sit there and do nothing about it. That's whole with comedy, my whole thing is Baton Rouge doesn't have the greatest scene, but there's a lot of talented comics. So my whole gig is well, let's make it better then. I know people who I hate Baton Rouge. I can't wait to get out of here. Well, you can do that, or you can help get rid of those shitty old men who make Baton Rouge terrible.
Exactly.
And then you can be the new generation to make it better. Or, hey, remember this, if you leave, all you're leaving behind, the people who, if everyone moves away from this city to go to a better city, what happens is the people that stay here are the same kinds of shitty people. So it's
very
just,
true.
It's a vicious cyclical cycle.
That's up into this past, I'd say maybe like the past 5 years, my wife and I have been looking for a way to get out. Like, we've got to figure out a way to get out of this state. It's just driving us crazy. And only within the past year or so have I really, or maybe not even year, I'd say maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, I could probably stay here. I could, if you just, you have to know where to look to find the cool places. Because they're out there. They exist. You just have to know where to look.
Exactly.
And if we could definitely create more of those and create more of a scene here, because there are really cool people.
There are.
They're just all shut-ins like me.
And there's enough people that like they do get legitimately stuck here for whatever reason, like family issues, financial issues, whatever have you. So the worst that could happen is like, well, then let's let those cool people who get stuck here have cool shit to do. That's my whole goal. Is like I realized mine was about a year ago too. I was like, what I could like my favorite thing in comedy is to go to, like, say, Huntsville, Alabama. Not a big city,
right?
Small. Not well known for anything really. It's just a city in Alabama that happens to be outside of Birmingham. It has 3 of the best comedy shows in the South for no reason. Like they pack out every month. The crowd loves comedy and don't know why. Huntsville, for whatever reason, is just a city like, oh, they found comedy and now all of a sudden it's the thing. Now comedians from all over the country are like, hey, the Epic Comedy Hour in Huntsville, that's the show to do if you're in that area. And so I was like, I could do that in Baton Rouge. I can
definitely do that.
I can train a new audience. Like, it's a slow process. The Epic Comedy Hour has been going for 5 years, but like my show is only 5-6 months old now. And so I only have like 20 regulars that come out every month. But those 20 have a friend who comes out. He has a friend who comes out, and just slowly over time, I say within a year, it could be every month packed show, killing it. But even until then, it's still a great show. Yeah. Because I'm training an audience to love comedy.
Yeah, so I think I've seen you at least twice at the station. How often are you there?
I'm at the station every week.
Okay. Every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday night, 8:30, $5. But like,
unless you're going on stage, right?
Yeah, it's free if you're on stage.
Yep.
It's also free if you just get there before the door guy gets there, which
that's true. That is a trick that works.
It is.
If you're a broke shit stick like myself, that's how you get in.
But I started comedy 4 years ago, and I've been at the station every single week except maybe 5 or 6 times for 4 years.
Okay, so yeah, me seeing you twice means I may have been there twice.
Yeah,
Jesus.
probably so.
Yeah. I used to go to the Funny Bone all the time because they were generous with their tickets. Very generous with their tickets.
That's why the club that bought the Funny Bone didn't work, is because they weren't going to just hand out 150 tickets.
I'm sorry, but the Funny Bone made killer money on drinks, man. They made killer money.
They also hated local comedy. Hated it.
That's very true. Actually, the first time I saw Kevin Hart was at the Funny Bone here.
Really?
Yeah, saw him live at the Funny Bone here when he was nobody.
Yeah.
It was an awesome show. Like, he had everybody. Yeah, he absolutely killed. But it was I don't know. That's a great story for me. Other than that, I haven't seen what. And I take that back. I saw Eddie Murphy's brother, Charlie.
Charlie
at
Murphy.
An airport. He was yelling at the Delta counter.
Nice.
And I didn't say hi or anything, but I saw him there yelling at the Delta counter. Those are my encounters with famous people.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Actually, T.J. Miller was at the station once.
Really?
He was filming a movie. Search Party was the movie.
Okay.
He was filming in town, and one night, my friend Chase Myers, who has a podcast, Chase and Dash Talk. It's a very good podcast. Been a guest
Check it out.
It's great. Well, he was headlining that night because the station is an open mic, but there's a 30-minute headlining spot that, if you're a local, make a few bucks, do extra time, invite your friends out to see what you've been working on lately. It's that kind of thing. But they also bring in some guys just coming through town. Like, if you're out of towner and you do this show, it's a 30-minute spot make some money and you get a hotel room out of it. It's a great deal. If you're in comedy, that's an amazing deal, especially for a Wednesday night. So anyway, Chase was headlining one night, and it was my 1-year comedy anniversary. And I was just like, you know what, Chase? Fuck these people. They don't deserve just being a fucking dick, sarcastic. Right. Sarcastic. Chase, these fucking people don't deserve you. Eat them alive. This is your fucking show. I'm like, you know what? It's my year anniversary. I'm gonna do all new. I'm a riff. I'm gonna fucking do all new shit. I don't give a shit. Fuck this show. And I look over and there's T.J. Miller. And I'm like, never mind. Okay, you're no longer the star of this. And T.J. Miller was there, and also with him was the comedy musical duo Garfunkel and Oates.
Oh God, I love them to pieces.
And here's the thing. That night at the station was just one of those nights where there happened to be a crowd. Like, for no reason other than the fact that the weather was nice.
Yeah.
90 fucking people were there.
Nice.
And like my friends from New Orleans, Andrew and Joe, they were there like, hey, we didn't want to do the mic in New Orleans tonight, so we decided to go to Baton Rouge. Cool. Nice to see you. Oh, fuck. It was like this crazy perfect storm of like the huge crowd that loved comedy. My friends were there. Like my good comedian friends were there. And then I pulled I was only a year in, so I wasn't very good.
Right.
But I had decent jokes. So I pulled the best 3-minute set ever out of my ass. And I locked into TJ Miller and was just listening for him to laugh. And he did. He laughed a couple times.
Fantastic.
And
that's going to be wonderful here.
Oh, after I got off stage, Chase tried to come talk to me like, hey, man. And then before he could get there, TJ Miller cuts him off. And he goes, hey, man, you're really funny. And I was like,
I love you. I don't know.
It was actually my Twitter bio. And actually, any bio you see of me, the main bio is, I've met famous people, and one of them told me I was funny, and that's TJ Miller.
Right,
TJ Miller is the one.
Fantastic.
But then he gets up there. He does 15 minutes, murders.
Of course.
Because the thing about the station is that whenever a out of towner comes in, it's always like a fun game of like, all right, now how are they gonna make fun of the room?
Right.
Every room has shit you make fun of, and so every out of town comic gets to make fun of it. And so as a local comic, I don't get to do that because I'm there every week. But the editor's like, oh, look, there's a fucking tiger painting. Oh, look, there's these guitars on the wall. And he pointed out that there's this lamp filled with marbles on stage that in the 4 or 5 years of
no
the
one's
station, no one's talked about it. And TJ Miller just riffed on it for like 3 minutes and it murdered. And I was like, Jesus, what the hell? And he riffed on one of Mike Honore's jokes. He flubbed the riff and then incorporated the flub into the riff. Like, because Mike had a joke. He goes, Canes, if you don't like it, fuck you, was just like being a dick about it.
Right.
And then TJ goes, that'd be funny if they actually sold shirts like that. Like on the back, on the front, it says
I'd buy
Canes.
that. I'd buy the fuck out of that.
He goes, on the front, it says Canes. On the back, it says, if you don't like it, go, go. That's all on the shirt. It's a boat shirt. And then like I was like, oh shit, he actually made the shirt a longer. It blew. It's like a simple thing, but it blew my mind to see him riff it on stage.
Yeah.
And then he gets off, apologizes for doing that much time. He did 15 minutes. It's like, you can do all the time. Right. I don't care. Then Garfunkel Notes does 3 songs.
Oh, man.
Tears the house down. And then Chase Myers.
What songs did they do?
They did Fuck Me in the Ass Because I Love Jesus.
Oh, you've got to do that one, especially if you're in the South.
It had just come out, too.
Oh, that's even better.
It had just come out.
That had to kill.
I can't remember what other 2 songs they did. It was 2 of their older songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new song that came out. But then, like, after that, I was like, and now Chase Myers. And the crowd couldn't give a fuck about Chase. They were done. They were all like in line to meet TJ, and TJ's trying to be like, no. Right. I'm trying to like enjoy the show, please. And then Chase, 5 minutes up there. He has to do 30 minutes. He's up there for 5. He goes, I'm still going to do this tomorrow. And for some reason, him saying that, the crowd was like, all right, we respect you.
Yeah.
And he caught him, and he did like 20 more minutes.
Oh, fantastic.
And they were with him. And then TJ's like, hey man, that was a really good job you did up there.
But I think that's something about comedy that you have to learn.
Oh yeah.
So I guess my more recent motivation hasn't been to get into comedy or to get into something creative that I've been trying to do forever. It hasn't been that I guess I'm too scared to do it or whatever. It's been that if I actually do this, like, it's a big financial change. And so my struggle has been giving up on the sucking on the big giant corporate money teat.
Yeah. You know what you should do? You should injure yourself on the job.
Yeah, that's a way to do it.
Slip on a slippery.
Way to do it.
Like move a wet floor sign.
I'll have to edit this part of the podcast out.
Just move a wet floor sign away from the wet floor. Slip, and you're like, boom, 30 grand, baby. Here we go.
I don't know, because it's such a big corporate job that I get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So it's depressing.
But you're doing a corporate job.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I'm selling 8 hours of my day to spend here miserable, dressed like a monkey. I hate it.
I can never do jobs. Like, it was a weird thing. Like growing up, like I was like 4 years old. I was watching a movie, and I realized I liked doing voices.
Oh,
like just like accents. Like I like doing a British accent at 4 years old. I enjoyed doing that. I think at 4 years old, I realized I couldn't have a job. It just wasn't going to be a thing. Like, even at a young age, I was like, I couldn't conceive of sitting at a desk. Like, I I had no concept of what jobs were,
Right.
but I knew that wasn't something I could do.
So my original idea coming up, if you notice the strew of instruments around the office,
I did.
My original idea was I was going to be a musician. That's what I wanted to do.
I can see that.
But then, I had, a car I wanted or a bike I wanted or,
Yeah.
I got to get a computer and this system and I need this and this and this and this. And that sort of got carried away because I enjoyed what I did originally, which was computer repair. I really enjoyed that. It didn't pay a whole lot, but I enjoyed doing it. I got to hang out with a bunch of cool people.
Yeah.
And it was pretty simple to do. It wasn't bad. Listen to cool music where you're sitting there building computers. It's not a bad gig.
Hey, there's worse.
And then from there, I got a job being an ethical hacker. That was cool as shit. I got to learn some really awesome stuff and break into banks for a living.
There you go.
That was brilliant. And then since there, every step has been a step down, and just like the amount of enjoyment I get out of the job, it's just kind of like I don't even give a shit anymore.
Yeah. Nah, I had a string of just shitty jobs. I'm only 23.
Right.
I haven't had time to have a good job, even if I wanted to have a good job.
See, but I think you're doing it right. I wish at 23 I would have said, you know what, this really isn't cut out for me. Instead of continuing to butt my head up against a stone wall.
I realized I started doing comedy when I was 20 years old, and so like I think part of the reason I have as many comedy friends is that I had no I was very well aware of how comedy worked at 20 years old. I was like, it takes a long time to get good.
It does.
It takes even longer to get recognized.
It does.
And it takes even longer to make any kind of living off of it. So when I was 20, I was doing a show in New Orleans one night, and I was talking to my friend Andrew. I said something like, yeah, I started at 20. I'll probably be good by the time I'm 26. And I think that was the moment he's like, oh, you get it. So because I get it, like, oh, we can be buddies now. Like,
right.
I know, no names, but I do know just shitty idiots. Like, they're 20, 21, and they think they're hot shit. Like, you're not. You're not good, man.
I saw a friend of mine from high school recently doing stand-up.
Really?
All right, so every time I've seen him, it's been really weird. So for one, in high school, he was the craziest friggin' dude. He's a local guy. Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman.
Or Morgan Wright, maybe.
Oh, I know Morgan Wright.
I don't know. I'm not sure where I get Freeman from. But yeah, Morgan Wright, big dude.
On Facebook, he is Morgan is always right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Morgan.
Yeah.
I went to high school with Morgan.
He's good friends with Jason Josh.
Yeah. So I went to high school with him, and he was the strangest dude. He had this truck called the Swamp Donkey.
Nice.
And he used to take money from people. Like, you give him $1 and you could hit his truck with a baseball bat. It was awesome. It was a great way to make money. It was a wonderful way.
It sounds pretty great.
I'd
take him up on that.
Oh yeah, totally. It was like you had a really shitty day. Teacher pissed you off or whatever. Morgan, here's $5, man. Give me the bat.
That's right.
It's great as long as he had rules. Stay away from windows, lights, and glass and stuff like that. But
you can dent it, but don't break it.
Yes. That's pretty much what his rule. But
aim for the tires if you really want to take some stress out.
Yes. But it got him a little bit of gas money to get across town. But I just liked that thought. So the next time I saw him, he was running in the Ron Paul campaign. Like, he was helping run their campaign, and I was like, that's like, he was up on stage talking. And I was like, that's fucking Morgan. Jesus Christ.
That makes some sense, I guess.
Some sense, yeah. I kind of get it. And then the next time I saw him, it was at the station. He was up there doing a set, and it wasn't terrible. I think
Morgan's
it feels like new. It feels like new comedy.
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like
well, he actually headlined the station.
Oh, really?
2 weeks ago, and it's very rare that your headlining set, especially your first headlining set at the station, is like your best set.
Of course,
because it's 30 minutes.
Right.
Usually your best set is like the condensed, like, here's all my best shit as quickly as possible. Your 5 to 10 minute sets, like, all my best shit right here. Mm-hmm. And Morgan 2 weeks ago, like you said, he's new. Right. So you don't. It's not mean to say I do like Morgan a lot. He's very funny.
Of course,
I love him as a person, especially. But I wasn't gonna say. I'm not gonna say I expected a lot of comedy out of it. But
I think it's kind of shitty to shit on people that are new into comedy. Like,
absolutely,
they're working on it. It takes practice. It takes them.
I give everyone a grace period of like 3 months and if they at least try at what they're doing, then as long as they're trying, it's extended and extended and extended. There's some people that grace period ends. I'm like, no, go fuck yourself. You've officially hit that point.
Yeah.
And there's a couple people like that in town. Like, nope, go fuck yourself. You're done. Mm-hmm. you have lost my respect and you're out of the grace period. You should know by now.
Well, yeah, there are some people that I don't think can get it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
but
possible.
Morgan's one of those guys. And like I said, 2 weeks ago, he headlined and out of fucking nowhere has the best set ever. I was like, what the fuck was that, Morgan? That was amazing. he made up some jokes on the spot that killed.
Nice.
Just, yeah, did a great job. And I was like,
well, I think a lot of it is also it's there. I think I've heard of a few comics talk about this, how it's sometimes you do something and it gets like a great response, and then you have to sit there and figure out what did it do.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you're just feeling it and like you're in the moment.
There's jokes. Me and my friend Jason were talking about this. Like, we have jokes that like I have no idea why it's funny. I wrote the joke and I don't know why people laugh at it. I'm like, I mean, it works, but I don't know why those words are funny. I don't know if I say them funny. Just whatever. And I have a couple of those jokes. I'm like, I mean, I'll still do them. Yeah, because they obviously work, but I don't know what's funny about it.
Yeah, I suppose that works. That would seem like it would make sense. So
it's a weird thing. Comedy, you don't learn comedy. You just get an intuition for it.
Yeah.
There's no hard science behind comedy. There's people like Jerry Seinfeld who clearly have a type of science behind it.
Right. They have a method.
They have their method, but even they fail. I've watched personally live Louis C.K. bomb. It happens to the best of them.
Oh, especially Louis, because Louis is one of those guys that loses all his material once a year and starts
I watched Hannibal Buress bomb. I watched Hannibal Buress kill. It's when you're an audience member, watching a famous person bomb is like very disheartening. You're like, oh, I had so much hope for this, and this guy failed. As a comedian, like, oh, thank God, I can fail too.
Exactly.
It's the most like, oh, it's like, the best feeling
fantastic.
in the world.
I'm not just a colossal loser.
Exactly.
There are these big guys that do fuck it up sometimes.
Exactly.
Or not even fuck it up. Like some jokes take work. Oh, and they.
I had a joke. I have a joke that's like 3 weeks old right now, and the first week I told it, it didn't do very well. But the comic was like, that's got potential. Like, you should do that joke. Yeah. Did it last night, and they're like, that's a way better joke than it was last week. I'm like, all right, cool. That joke's staying. Because I'm actually a big offender of like throwing away jokes too soon. I usually give them like three chances on a new joke. I'm like, I'll try it once.
So do you like how many? So you rewrite 3 times, or
I take a joke and I'll do it once, and then like again do it twice, rewrite it a little bit, like change some words around, add stuff, subtract stuff. Still kind of gets in, and third time, still not quite there. I throw it out usually. Right. And the problem, I've probably lost potentially some great jokes because of that. I might have jokes out there that could have been my killer closers or openers or whatever that I just gave up on too soon. And I admit that. I'm a bigger offender of it. But I also have other great jokes that worked very soon. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go with those.
That was the idea.
Yeah. But everyone just has their different methods. And mine just happens to be like more like, let's get it done. Come on. If it's not there, it's not there. Move on.
So I guess with how much time do you spend writing on stage versus off stage?
I don't ever physically write anything down. Okay. I do
talk
even
in your head, just working through.
Yeah, I talk out loud a lot.
Okay.
Like when I'm home alone, I just talk.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Like especially if the kids and the wife are out of the house, I love talking.
I mean, that's why I got into comedy. I love the sound of my own voice. I love it. It's the best. Like I've been doing public speaking since like years before I did comedy. I was a youth minister.
A youth minister.
Oh,
fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't think I loved Jesus. I think I just loved the sound of my own voice, and Jesus was a good vehicle to hear it.
See, I just got tired of my parents nagging at me to go to church, so I went, and I got tired of the pinches and pokes. And it just really, the whole experience for me just left a really bad taste in my mouth.
I'm still technically involved with the youth group in my church. I actually live like 3 blocks away from my church. Yeah.
Like I've got no problem with people with faith. I mean, you see the Sanskrit and stuff on my arm. I mean,
no, for sure.
I've got no problem with people of faith, but for some reason the way I was brought up in me, it just left a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, my mom was she was like she's one of the people that converted to Catholicism. Okay. So she was learning Catholicism at the same time I was
following the teachings of Catholic.
Yes, exactly. But like as I was coming up through Catholic schools, she was actually just going to Catholic school class essentially. So we were both learning the same things at the same time kind of thing. And so learning with my mom kind of like left a good taste in my mouth in a way, and like her taking it as seriously enough to like become a Catholic was like, well, maybe there's something to it.
Right.
Because it wasn't just like, oh, here we are. It's the thing we were born with.
Now, I say I've got no problem with people of faith. There are some people of faith that take it a little bit too far.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
everyone.
like,
there's comedians take it too far too. There's
yeah.
everyone everywhere has somebody that takes it too far.
That was
it's just religious people tend to be a little more obnoxious about it than most. Because religion's one of the biggest institutions.
Even some atheists out there are obnoxious about it.
Religion and its counterparts seem to be the most obnoxious people on the planet.
Exactly.
Which includes the non-religious.
Yes, it does.
But then after I was a youth minister, I was in the drama club.
Okay.
And my biggest regret was not joining drama club sooner because I thrived in that environment. I love drama club. I really wish I had joined sooner or went to a school with a bigger drama program.
So how did you do in school? Just curious. I'm trying to correlate some data points.
I was not a good student, but I wasn't
fantastic.
Bad at I was the kid who just I didn't do anything, but I still got C's.
Yeah.
I was like, why would I do homework if I'm still getting C's?
Right.
I didn't.
Ideal. That's what I was. I was a C student on purpose.
My senior year, I only had to pass 2 classes. I only passed those 2 classes.
Of course.
But
why?
My ACT,
why would you go any?
But then at the same time, my ACT score was 32.
Right.
And I didn't try. I didn't even have a calculator. My ACT score, like I had a 17 on the math portion and still got a 32 on the ACT. That's insane.
I mean, 32 is quite high. All right. So here's I was a C average student because I knew exactly what I wanted to do as soon as I got out of. I knew what I needed. I got a 21 first time I took SAT. That's exactly what I needed. That's all I did. I didn't need to take it any more than that because that's exactly what I needed. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And senior year, I took financial math. Mm-hmm. I did absolutely the easiest possible thing I could do to achieve whatever it was I wanted to get. I didn't get tops because I dropped out of foreign language. I'm sorry, it was kicking my ass because I couldn't keep up with it.
I failed Spanish one year because my teacher insisted on me knowing how to spell the words properly. Even though I went to summer school, the teacher was like, you're fine. You're whatever. Why are you here?
Right.
I was like, she insisted on spelling. She said, that's stupid. And so I just read books in the back of class and took quizzes on those. And that's how I got,
So I got C's and I at some point they were like, okay, because, you're bored. And I was like, this is boring. I know what I'm doing. I get exactly what I want to get. And if I really want, like, things that interested me, like we had computer repair in high school, and that was fascinating to me. So I did really well. I did really well in science because I enjoyed the subject.
Yeah.
Everything else was just C.
English class for me.
They wanted me to
loved English class.
I see. English was my problem. I couldn't do it. Well, all right. So I guess mostly because it was all the structure. Like, I wasn't interested in the structure. I was more interested about the rhetoric or the
actual works.
Narrative. Yeah. I'm more interested in that and less interested in the structure.
Yeah.
Like I could give 2 squirts of piss about how you put it together. If you paint a beautiful picture in my head with words, I'm going to appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, I was like one of the 2 kids in class that loved The Great Gatsby when you read it. I was like, that's a great book. What are you talking about? That's awesome. I was like, oh, it's dumb. Like, you just hate being forced to read. But no, I was just that kid.
Well,
I never tried.
That was the thing I hated, like in school. I hated being forced to read things I didn't want to read.
Yeah. No, every kid does, and it's a bad system, but whatever. But no, I was average student. Mm-hmm. But like, I remember senior year, I was like, people were like, oh, wait, why aren't you trying hard? I'm like, because I'm not trying to go to LSU.
Right.
Like, I'm not. I knew my junior year I was going to go to film school at BRCC, which is still one of the best film schools in the area. Because when we got those tax credits when we first got those film tax credits for the movie industry, BRCC was like, well, let's build a film editing studio.
Right.
And so they did, and they were ahead of the curve on fucking everyone in film. So I went to BRCC Film School, went there for a couple of years, and then never did anything with it. Did just shitty job, trying to do something. And then one day, an old coworker of mine, I used to work with this guy named John when I was 15, and he did comedy, and he invited me to a show. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go to that. And like a few days later, I was like, well, I mean, he told me like when the open mics were, I was like, well, I guess I'll go try it. The first time I stepped on stage was a Tuesday night at Blue Duck Comedy at Bourgeois and Thibodeau's. They were giving away $5 to anyone who had performed their first time. So I made
$5 first night.
$5.
Dude, that's amazing.
And I performed my jokes to 8 people. And the moment I told my first joke, I said, yeah, this is it. This is the thing.
Well, that's kind of the thing I've learned.
It's very rare to have that eureka moment. I was like, this is the thing.
So I've had other YouTube channels before this. Most of my success on this channel is actually from redirecting my other channels here.
Yeah.
I used to run a motorcycle show just because I rode rode motorcycles all the time. That's
Yeah.
what I've been doing the past few years. It was my passion and my interest. So I made a motorcycle show, and it did. That was probably the better of the several that I did.
Right.
And as soon as I started doing this, just talking to people, it's exactly what I want to do. Like, I just knew as soon as I started doing it. Like, I've had a guy on from Australia. His company's working on AI. The guy is infinite times more intelligent than I am. See, right there, what I just did. Yeah. So that guy, it was trouble to keep up with the guy, but I loved having that conversation. We talked about simulation theory and the idea that we live inside of a simulation that's also exists inside of a simulation, so on and so forth. And it's.
I mean, I just want to make dick jokes. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And you should be able to make dick jokes.
Well, I remember the moment very, very clearly. I was like, this is I remember the moment I told my first joke on stage. I said to myself in my brain, I was like, oh, I will be doing this forever. It was the kind of moment where I knew that at that moment I found the thing that even if I can't make a career out of it, even if I get stuck in Baton Rouge working a minimum wage job till I die at 80, I will at the very least go to the station every week, tell jokes for 5 minutes, and then go home. That's because I'm still going to do that.
That's exactly the way I felt about and do feel about this. It's like even if it does, I don't make a dime. Even if 3 people listen to it, I don't care.
What a great feeling that is.
It is. It's wonderful. Because I'm enjoying doing it, and so other people can enjoy it too. I'm sure they do. It's obvious that they do, but some of it's baffling.
Fucking better.
Some of it confuses the hell out of me. Some of my shows, I have no idea how they're interested. I don't get it, but
hey, take what you can get.
I am appreciative.
Exactly.
I really enjoy. I enjoy connecting with people and having the conversations that I have. So
yeah, I love crowds. The idea of a crowd is so weird. I'll never figure it out because every crowd is different. Even if it's the same venue with the same regular people, for some reason, just like. No crowd can ever be the same. Even hour to hour, you get the same people. They're a different crowd because their moods are different. Their days were different. Their weeks were different. Their months were different. Whatever. And then combine the fact with, it's not ever going to be the same people. Exactly. The same combination of.
One thing I would like to give a plug to. There's I can never remember her name. Terribly sorry. There's a lady. I've seen her twice. Probably both times that I've been to the station. That I saw you, but she's I believe she has cancer, but she's up there at least every time that I've been. She's been there.
Is she insane?
Yes.
4 foot.
Totally insane. Absolutely batshit.
She has not been there for 3 months.
Oh man,
Dizzy,
that's so sad. Yeah,
Dizzy Lizzy.
That's it. That's her.
She sexually assaulted every male comic.
I'm not surprised.
She did not have cancer, but she was only 60.
Oh, I thought she was really.
Yeah, she looked 106.
Wow, only 60. Jesus, what kind of life has she had?
We don't know, and I frankly don't care.
Yeah,
it sounds heartless of me to say that, but she is one of the people like you've passed it.
Yeah,
you need to get the fuck out.
I can imagine so, but I'm just saying, if you want to see some crazy, every time I've seen her, it's been interesting to say the least.
Well, that's the thing about open mic. That's what makes open mic so interesting. Is that open mic comedy is literally open. Any person or thing, I don't know, can sign up for the open mic, and then they'll get on there, and they're allotted 5 minutes, just like everybody else.
I do miss going out. I really do miss going out.
Hey, man.
It's every Wednesday.
It's always there.
Yeah, I know.
And then my show once a month.
Well, so tell me about your show, man. What are you doing?
I run a monthly showcase here in town, which is basically 6 to 8 comics doing various amounts of time each. Once a month at Atomic Pop Shop on Government, right by Radio Bar, Baton Rouge High, right in that area.
I love Radio Bar.
Oh, it's super great. They're so fun to hang out with after the show. But yeah, once a month, usually on a Thursday. Whenever I have comics come through town, since I have free reign of what day I want to pick, because it's not a bar, they don't have a schedule to keep to. If a day's open, I can take it. So I usually get a Thursday whenever comics come, like. March 31st is my next show, and I have this guy named Joe Pettis from Atlanta, who is such a sweetheart and one of my favorite comedians in the country. When I went to Atlanta in January with my friend Mike, Joe was like the most helpful person. He got us almost every show we did. Joe hooked us up with it. He's like, "Hey,
good dude.
Talk to this dude.
Very cool dude."
He actually was the month that the Laughing Skull Club in Atlanta. Every month they have like a new feature comic. For that month, he basically does like 5 to 10 minutes on every show that happens. And it was his month. January was his month. So he was featuring while we were in town for Big J. Okerson. And we were just hanging out in Atlanta. He goes, hey, do you want to come hang out with Big J. Okerson? And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty great.
Yeah.
And so he just brought us backstage, saw the show for free, hung out for a bit, and then we went and watched the Royal Rumble with some other comics.
Nice.
And like, it was great. And Joe is like, he runs a show that travels the country called the Underwear Comedy Party, where every comic on the show performs in their underwear, which is...
Oh, yes, that has to be good.
It's the most fun to do because being in your underwear just adds a layer of vulnerability.
Of course.
That really makes the audience want to like you more. And it's like, I've done it...
Oh, that sounds beautiful, that sounds
I've done
amazing.
I've done the show maybe 3 times, and every time I've had like the best set I've ever
So I'm
had.
sorry, where is this again? Because I've got to try... You said this is Atlanta, right?
He runs it in Atlanta mostly, but he travels the country with it. Like, it's been to the station twice.
Really?
It's been to the station twice now.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a Twitter account? Because I'm sure people like, because I want to be more plugged. It's
Yes, at Evan Rab, EVANRAB. Super simple.
I believe I followed you earlier. Actually,
You did.
I'm a
I
little bit
saw
of an
that.
internet stalker. I
It's
just
fine.
remember that. But yeah, for any of the people listening, by all means, definitely if you're local and you want to get plugged into some cool scenes, by all means.
Oh
follow
yeah,
them.
I love pointing people in the direction of comedy. Like I'm very attuned. I actually know of shows happening right now as we speak, like in Chicago. I just
Really?
because I'm friends with so many people in in LA,
right.
Chicago, New York, whatever. That I just see their poster on Facebook or whatever, and my brain just keeps that knowledge. So if someone in Chicago messaged me like, "Hey, where's the show?" I'm like, "You should go to this show right now because it's happening tonight."
Well, that was one thing I enjoyed about traveling. I used to travel for a living when I was ethical hacking, and I get to travel all over the country. And I got to go, like, what do you do on the middle of the week in a city you don't know?
Yeah.
What do you do at that night if you're bored of shit and can't sleep? I mean, go to the comedy club. That's
a
where
good
it's
place
at.
to start.
So I got to see a lot of the clubs around. It was just so enjoyable. Like and I ever since then I don't know, I've always had this deep appreciation for what comedians do.
Oh, well, that's why I like running my show on a Thursday, because the only problem with Thursday nights is getting an audience, because Thursday is still a weeknight. They still have work the next day. They don't really want to go out and just, it's a BYOB show, whatever, bring your own, just fucking party with us. But Thursday can be kind of difficult for audiences. But for everything else, it's easy to book, because that venue, Pop Shop, they don't really book a lot of things on Thursdays. I actually get first dibs on every Thursday. They've called me asking me if I want to do a show on certain days because they had a band who wanted to play that night. So they asked me if it was okay in a way. I was like, "Fine, dude,
Right,
sure."
it's yours. I mean,
but that's the kind of like, that's the nice thing about that. I have first dibs.
well, right.
And
I
also,
think they see the benefit you're bringing to their establishment.
and
their
also
club. Yeah.
the guy who works there, Matthew, he loves comedy, and it is the most beneficial thing in the world. And I don't think anyone who's not in comedy can understand this. Venues hate comedy. They hate, every bar hates comedy. The station's been on for 7 years. It is very much the exception to the rule.
Okay.
There have been several open mics in Baton Rouge. Several.
Yes, there have.
And you know how many people are still doing open mics in Baton Rouge? One. Because I've had 2. I myself have had 2 dead within months. Dead.
Wow.
Look, comedy, because here's the thing. Any venue can give $200 to a cover band, say, play for 4 hours, and then that's it. That's all they have to do. Because you can ignore music. You're allowed to ignore music. With comedy, we're like, hey, sit there
here and listen to me.
And you listen to what we say. So, look, comedians, we get it. We know why you hate us. But at the same time, please let us do this. Please let us. I know we suck, but please let us. So what Matthew wanting the comedy to happen is like the most benefit. Look, I pay to put on shows there. It's out of my pocket, and I'm happy to do it because it's a good show. The venue wants it to happen, and within a year, I'll be making more money with it because it's going to happen. And I just love bringing in talented comedians and kind of showing them off. Like I don't want a show where people come to see certain comedians.
Right.
I want a show where a regular audience goes, we trust Evan's booking.
Yes.
We know Evan's going to book solid comedians. So we're going to go and we're going to see these comedians and they're going to be great. That's what I want.
I think it's a really solid strategy because earlier on in developing any sort of creative field. I think you have a sense of taste. What you lack is a sense of how to accomplish what your taste is attuned to.
Exactly.
So you're able to look at things and really appreciate them without having the ability to necessarily reproduce
actually
that effect.
The last show and the February show, which God, that was actually the night. Okay, so Morgan, our mutual friend Morgan, he headlined the station on Wednesday, and like he murdered the 5 comedians before him murdered, and then the next night at my show, every comedian murdered. It was like for 24 hours in Baton Rouge. Anyone who was on stage telling jokes killed it. It was like literally, it was the best 24 hours of comedy Baton Rouge will ever see. It was a show so good. After the show, I joked, but I was being kind of serious. Like, yeah, you fucking lucky ass comics get to perform on this great show, and all I get to do is host. Ooh, you're so lucky. I was like kind of jealous that I didn't get to perform on my own show.
Right.
That's how good the show is, and I'm like, I'm so proud of it.
See, please tell me you tweet about these things, because I need to be aware.
My Instagram is filled with it.
Fantastic.
Instagram is Evan_Rabalais.
Fantastic. Go follow this
some
person.
Fucking guy took Evan Rab already.
Doesn't it suck?
Doesn't even use it.
I know.
Doesn't even use
I know. There's a person out there with my Twitter handle, which is I'm Q Content 42, not questionable content. And he's not even associated with the webcomic that has the same name. Not even associated. Just some asshole that doesn't use it.
But yeah, I have an Instagram for the show too, Listening Party Show, which is just like pictures from the shows and posters for the upcoming shows and stuff like that. And it's one of the few things I've ever been proud of. Like, this show was so good immediately. The first show we did, because we did the first show in November, and it was like, I was like, first show, all Baton Rouge comics, like, and I was able to pay local comedians to do comedy, which was crazy.
Exactly.
I drive to Mobile to do a show, not get paid, and I'm like, well, that's still a good show.
Yeah.
So, but like, I was able to pay someone $7. Holy shit, that's crazy. But no, it's so fun. It really is, like, and it's a very intimate venue. So like, even if it's not a packed crowd, we had like 20, 25 people last time. That was it. That was enough. You can have 70 people in there to crammed in, but you can have. And it's still great with 20.
Well, hey, man, I tell you what, if you're interested in any of the times that you have any comedians on or anybody that's going to come to your show, if you want to bring them on and we can advertise to people.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, just to give sort of a sounding board, because I know the radio scene here in Baton Rouge has kind of gone to shit.
Every scene in Baton Rouge kind of gone to shit. I'm trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Trying to fix it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we need outlets to get
definitely
messages out. So anytime you want to come on, by all means, give me a ring. We'll have whoever you have on. And like I said, hopefully within the next within the next 4 months, there will be a permanent location. It'll actually be right here behind this house, being built, purpose built for the studio. It's not really purpose built.
It's a good purpose.
Prefab shell that I'm finishing with sheetrock. Yay.
Yeah. I love comedy so much, and I'm excited. Like I could talk literally for hours about comedy, which is like my run.
Okay, so I know it's silly to ask who your favorite comedian is, because that's
it's a long list.
I know. So I will say, can you give me top 5? Your top 5.
Okay, well, there's some qualifications to it,
of course,
because I do get that question a lot.
There are also different flavors.
Yes, I can have a top 5 that you can go find on Netflix or easily on like specials or whatever. I also have. Because my literal top 5 comedians, you have never fucking heard of.
All right, so here's the deal: is that everybody can go and look on Netflix and see stand up. Yes. I've watched every single stand up worth watching on Netflix. It's not that hard to follow comedy on Netflix. Right. I want to know about the underground guys. Who are these people that are not getting?
I will give the short Netflix list. Obviously, John Mulaney, Tom Segura, Hannibal Buress, Bill Burr,
Louis.
I like
Louis. All right.
I like Louis.
His show takes it into some weird places.
Yeah. But there is actually a couple specials to look out for on Netflix. Coming soon is Andy Sanford's special. He filmed it at Star Bar in Atlanta. He is a fucking killer. That dude's amazing, and his hour special is going to be amazing. I don't know when it's coming to Netflix, but it's been ordered and it's getting edited right now. When it comes out, look it up. Andy Sanford, he's awesome. He was in Baton Rouge a few months ago, and just straight killer. But the underground guys, here's the thing. It's not even that I have a bias towards them. It's because because you can go to any city and find comedians that will never be famous.
Of course.
But they are more they're funnier. My syntax was terrible there.
It's fun.
But they're funnier than any comedian that will ever be famous. Because that's just the way comedy works. Anyone can be funny. It's how can you, if you can harness it effectively.
Right.
And so my top 5 are local comics. Guys like in New Orleans, Vincent Zambon.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Is
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you go to any city, you kind of see the same comics. Like I've seen
everybody does the local tour.
Well, you kind of see the same type of comics. Like, I've met the Evan Rabalais of Atlanta. Like Jake Head, he moved to New York. We're very similar. Like, we have we developed in a similar way. I've seen the guys like the Mike Honorays, the Will Merrills, the guys who in this scene. I've seen them in other cities. Like they're kind of. I've never seen a guy like Vincent Zambon. Every guy from out of town, they'll see Vincent. They go, what was that? He's amazing. And he's so unique. And Vincent Zambon, if you're in New Orleans on Friday nights, go to the Dragon's Den. Comedy, fuck yeah.
There's a really good show, or a bunch of good shows in New Orleans.
Oh, there's too many good shows in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Karate Fight, run by Andrew Polk and Joe Cardosi, is the best show in New Orleans. Comedy, fuck yeah, on Fridays, run by Vincent Zambon. There's the open mic over there is actually at a place called The Station. Carrollton
Really?
Station. Carrollton Station.
All right.
Carrollton Station has an open mic on Wednesday nights. Also, it's also on Wednesdays.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
It's a funny little coincidence. So if you're in New Orleans or Baton Rouge, go to The Station, and on Wednesday nights, you'll see an open mic. The New Movement will do shows every now and then. They're an improv theater, but they do stand-up shows occasionally. Hi Ho on Sundays has their open mic, the NOLA Comedy Hour. The Ripoff Show is a comedy game show in New Orleans, and they're going to be at my show in May. They're going to
the Ripoff Show.
The Ripoff Show. It's a comedy game show that was a ripoff of At Midnight. Like straight up, they're like they took the 3 panelists. I
really enjoy At Midnight. That's a really good show.
3 panelists doing game type.
And this is live.
Oh, live.
And
instead of commercial breaks, they'll have a comic come and do like a 10-minute set.
You said they're coming to
Baton Rouge.
Okay, so they're going to do the station or
Atomic Pop Shop.
Okay, fantastic.
May 19th.
May 19th. Oh
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm going to write that down because yeah.
Yeah, that's a really well produced show. That's been going on for about a year now, and the guy who runs that show, Jeff, he's doing listening party in April, and then he's bringing his show, Ripoff Show, to Pop Shop in May.
That's gonna be fantastic.
It's gonna be a fun little run that we're doing. But all those shows. So my top 5 like local guys, it's like Vincent Zambon, Mike Honoré here in Baton Rouge. Oh, so good. Chase Myers, dude. Chase Myers, awesome. Josh Watts just had a baby. Fucking just had a baby, and he's killing it with comedy.
Wait, Josh Watts,
big bearded guy, friends with Chase Myers.
No, I'm sorry. I recognize that name. I may have worked with that dude a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like retail.
Maybe. But
the name sounds familiar, but
he just had a kid like 5 days ago.
Crazy.
She's adorable, but he's great. Andrew Polk and Joe Cardosi, they're a group called Massive Fraud in New Orleans, and they are doing such great things.
Yeah, I've heard about them.
Yeah. Oh, they're half the reason New Orleans is as good as it is.
Because they come here. They've been here a few times. If I'm not
Joe did my show in February. Andrew did my show in December. They come down to the station just to hang out sometimes. Then in Lafayette, you got Jason Leonard who books like if you've seen a big comedian like Kyle Kinane or Tom Segura come through Lafayette, Jason Leonard.
Did you see his new special?
Who's Tom?
Tom, yeah.
I loved it.
I loved it. It was great.
Did you see Kinane's
Bikes?
But did you see Kinane was here like a few weeks ago? Kyle Kinane, who is the best comedian in the world.
Really?
The best.
Okay.
He is
bold statement, sir.
Bold statement. I will stand by it. He is hands down the best comedian in the world. The voice of Comedy Central.
Okay.
So if you've heard him say up next on Comedy Central, that's him.
Oh, all right. Fantastic.
And yeah, I saw him. He did JP's in Lafayette on a Saturday, and then the next night he was in Houston, and me and Jason drove up to Houston for a festival, and he was on it. Him and Dave Ross he did 2 different hours both nights. So that was awesome, and he's literally the best. I stand by that bold statement 100%. But you should definitely watch his specials. But and then Vaughn Vayon in Lafayette's really good. Joey Thibodeau, all these local guys, like they are local, but that doesn't mean they're not good. Because some people will assume if you go see local comedy, it's gonna be bad.
No, not at all.
And it's not. There are bad local comedians.
Of course,
and
it happens.
And if you go to an open mic, you should not expect to see good comedy.
Of course. And also the comedian, some of the comedians that are there that are good, they're also probably working on some material.
Oh, absolutely. Like that's when people like I've had friends of mine like, I want to come see at the station. No, don't fucking come see me at the station.
I'm working that night.
Go see me at my show.
Right.
When I have polished material.
Exactly.
That I can do. That's fine.
Well, I think that's why the scene here is such difficult to pull off, because you've got one place.
Yeah, it is. And I think before I leave, I at least want one more open mic, 2 more open mics maybe.
So do you have a date when you're planning on heading out?
No, nothing solid. I mean, I'll say rough. I want to leave and head maybe to Austin or Atlanta.
Okay. I like Austin. Austin's a really cool
2
place.
or 3 years.
Okay.
Being very conservative with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, in January I took a trip to Austin and Atlanta, both. Austin was so fucking fun.
I love Austin.
And Austin was the first time
wonderful.
because I was only there for 3 or 4 days, but I was like, oh, this is what a comedy scene feels like.
Right.
Because here's the thing about Austin.
They also have a beautiful music scene. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
Austin and New Orleans have this thing in common where like the comedians there are all transplants. They all moved to there. So all the comedians only know other comedians. So the scene is held up by these people. They're like, that's all they do is to hang out with comedians. So like that's why it's such a good scene. Like, well, Austin even more so than New Orleans, because New Orleans has a lot of people that are from there.
Exactly.
But Austin, you have so many hundreds of comedians, not hundreds, but close to 100 comedians that are all from out of town who moved there, and so all they do is hang out at comedy shows, and that's where they meet comedians, and that becomes their only friends. It's like it's a cyclical thing. But yeah, I mean, we did a show in Austin one night. I got a text from a friend of mine who's a comic in Austin. He goes, "Hey, you want to come hang out at the Velveeta Room, which is one of their clubs?"
Right.
So sure, I'll hang out there. And we had done a show there the night before, and the door guy recognized us. He goes, "Hey, come on in." I was like,
"Nice."
Oh shit! Door guy recognized me. This is what comedy.
I've made it. I have made it.
Oh, this is what comedy feels like. Because I mean, that's part of the nice thing about having clubs is that comedians go in for free.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure also you get to know the staff and the people that work there, and they're probably more real with you than they are with the
for sure
average everyday customer.
Oh, for sure. But like that's the thing that we don't get here in Baton Rouge. We don't, because there's not a club in Louisiana at all.
It's true.
New Orleans doesn't have a club. Baton Rouge used to have a club. But the Funny Bone here in Baton Rouge was so poorly run.
It was.
It was disowned by the franchise. If you went on the Funny Bone franchise website, our location was not listed, which means that we did not have the...
I don't blame them, honestly.
Oh,
I don't blame them.
Neither do I. But that means we also didn't have access to their booking list.
That's
so
true.
Tom Segura, who is a Funny Bone comic, he travels and does Funny Bones, did not come to Baton Rouge ever.
That hurts. I would have loved... I haven't seen Tom live. I want to see Tom live.
He did Lafayette about a year ago and fucking killed it. He's so good.
It never fails though. Like anytime there's something that comes to town that I actually want to see, like was it Tool and Primus did a show?
Yeah,
I really wanted to go to that, but I just couldn't, man. At the moment, like I quit smoking for this show. Like I've done a lot for me. Like I no longer put cream in my coffee.
Wow.
Like I'm seriously pouring everything I have.
That's
into
a
this
lot
show.
of dedication.
Dude, like I said, I don't want to do... I know what I want to do, even if it costs me every last penny. Apart from what I need to take care of my family.
More
if I have to work
power
this
to you.
soul-sucking job forever to take care of my family, as long as I'm able to still do this.
More
that's all
power
I
to you,
wanna
man.
do.
That's respectable. That's respectable.
That's why I love comedians so much, because they not only have set out with that goal in mind, but they've achieved it, especially some of the big guys.
Oh, yeah.
It takes some sort of heart, I guess, is the only way I can describe it.
Comedy is the one thing. I hate people who are very elitist about their crafts. But once I started doing comedy, I was like, yeah, no. Because it's one of those things that immediately I was like, oh, if you're not a comedian, you literally can't get it. There's some aspects about comedy that if you don't do it, you're like, you'll never know.
Of course.
Like, people will always ask me, like, because there's a thing, there's a groove you can get on stage. Like, I'll do like a 30-minute set. And I don't know why, but for some reason, just that night, my energy just carries the entire set, and it's perfect. And I don't know what it was. The groove just hits, and you can't describe it. That you're telling the same jokes the same way, but like for some reason you can see them coming. It's almost like I can't describe it. But every comedian knows the groove they can get into, and it's the kind of groove where like you're on stage, you're telling your jokes, but then you'll riff. You'll just start making jokes off the top of your head.
It's like you can feel the room. You can feel how the people are going to react. You feel what mood they're in.
I've heard it before, and I totally respect it. You're not playing an instrument, but the audience is your instrument.
Yeah, it kind of goes like I said, I was tried to become a rock star. That was my dream, or a musician. And I played in quite a few local bands, so I get familiar with how a crowd can feel. Like,
yeah, and it's just like and it's not all the time. It's definitely not all the time. Sometimes I've had great sets where I didn't feel the groove. It was like, it was kind of mechanical. Like I went through the motions. I had fun with it, but
you just wasn't there. The spark wasn't there.
It was a good set, but hey, whatever. But then there's nights I've had bad sets where I was just like I was so happy with it. Because my favorite room, I went to Atlanta with my friend Mike, and we did a show called Business as Usual, which was in the Highland Inn Ballroom, which is a huge, it's like the basement of this hotel has this ballroom area, and they have a stage, and that's where the show was. Huge crowd, great show. I did, I think, 20 minutes, murdered. But the crowd was, I called them too good. They were quiet when I wanted them to be quiet. They let me enjoy silence, which is something that you don't get very often. A crowd that lets you be quiet to really soak in a laugh, that's rare. Because you go like this. You go, here's the joke, and a tag. And they let you do that. And I was able to move at a very slow pace, kind of do my own thing. And
so
they laughed when I wanted them to. They laughed at things that have never gotten laughs, which kind of threw me off.
Those are gotta be.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I have lines in my act that are for me. They're not big parts, but every now and then,
a little quip or something.
No, just for me. That rarely gets a laugh, and they were like, "Woo!" And I was like, "Oh, what the fuck was that? That never." Okay.
Yeah, that would be strange. I think
it happens sometimes though, but whatever, you roll with it.
Of course.
But
good crowds.
I say they were too good. Afterwards, I felt great about it. If I needed a set to be filmed, that's the one I wanted to be filmed. But afterwards, I was just kind of like, all right, I need a rowdy bar. And then, so after that, we went to the Secret Show at 1 a.m., which is in a place called Old Smith's Bar. It's a show with a secret lineup at 1 a.m. It's the show that
dude, that sounds amazing.
And since it's 1 a.m., it has to be pretty tight because bars close at 2.
Of course.
Boom, boom, boom. Every comedian, because that's where Rory Scovel drops in. Okay, so I went back to Kyle Kinane for a second. Mm-hmm. The holy trinity of comedy. If you want 3 comedians that are not famous but are guaranteed to be that's the fucking show. Kyle Kinane, Rory Scovel, and Sean Patton. Sean Patton, who is from Louisiana, was in the Family Dinner. Really? The improv group that I'm a part of was in there 15 years ago.
Okay.
That is the holy trinity of because Sean Patton is one of the guys, if you look him up on YouTube, don't do that. Don't watch his Comedy Central half hour. Don't buy his album. Don't watch him on YouTube.
Some people are better just live.
Because he's fine. You're that was okay. That was fine. Right. Whatever. But when you see him live, you're I had to redefine what I thought killing it was after I saw Sean when I was like, well, that's the new killing it.
Yep.
Because that's the new level.
Raise the bar.
And I've seen him dozens of times because he comes back down to New Orleans all the time. And every single time he raises the bar, I'm like, how'd you fucking do it? And Rory Scovel the same way. Rory has 3 different voices. He'll perform whole sets in a Georgia accent. He'll perform whole sets as a German. He's not German. Awesome. And he has jokes specific to those voices that he can't do in the other voices. And he doesn't do it. He doesn't acknowledge it. He doesn't come out and say, I'm going to do a voice now. He just does it. And that's the thing. And then he won't break character.
Well, that's kind of how I do voices around the house. It's usually just spur of the moment thing.
And then Kinane's just the best.
Right. If I'm yelling for something, that's always Scottish for some reason. I have no idea why.
But back to the point.
Sorry.
Yes. So I needed a rowdy bar. And so Secret Show at 1 a.m., that's a rowdy bar.
I would imagine so.
It's just a drunk fest.
Of course.
Because there's a band on before, and it's a super busy bar too. And so the host of the show,
kind of like Spanish Moon, or at least how I remember.
Oh no, even rowdier than that.
Oh, fantastic!
This is the kind of bar has
New Orleans style.
Yeah, this is the kind of bar has 4 different rooms. You go in here, it's pool table room. Over here is people sitting down, and over here is the bar, and over here is a stage. They're all disconnected, but they're all the same bar. Mm-hmm. And there's a band on beforehand that just had this huge crowd watch him, killed it, and they get off stage. And it's the kind of rowdy bar where the host, before the show, goes, if you're not here for comedy, get the fuck out. Leave. I've never seen a host be able to be that. He goes, there are people outside who want to see comedy. Don't take up their fucking spots. Get the fuck out. I'm like, you can do that? And I get on stage. He goes, from Baton Rouge and Rabalais. And there's a guy who just starts yelling, Roll Tide. And I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. Oh, and I was like, we're in Georgia. We'll all murder you. Then he does the same thing to my friend Mike, and Mike riffs for 3 minutes. We only get 7-minute sets. I'm like, yeah, I don't even do the best in that situation. Like my best comedy is when the crowd wants to laugh. They kind of follow my instructions, as it were.
Right.
Like my comedic instructions, as I put it. And this crowd's like the kind of crowd where I had to kind of yell my whole set, be aggressive, do things I had to like kind of like just amp up the energy. That's not the kind of comedian I even am, but it's what I love doing the most.
Of course.
And because it's because it's out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And I love exploring that area. I'm like, I have to yell jokes that aren't meant to be yelled. And it's so much fun. And the crowd's like, he's having fun. I'm having fun. This is fun. I'm like, let's all fight. And I love that energy. And but afterwards, like, all right, that's what I needed. Let's go take a nap.
So yeah, man, I noticed that you've also written an article for UFC. Do you do any more writing?
I wrote for Dig. I was a freelancer for Dig for a couple times.
On the UFC.
Yeah, I wrote about the UFC, about the uniform. I'm not gonna get into that. That's I'm not even funny. I have very serious opinions about this. But no.
Does Reebok bother you?
I don't.
All right. Deep breaths. Kumbaya.
But yeah, I was a freelancer for Dig. I had some issues with the editors there. They weren't putting my articles online, which was kind of a big deal to me. I was like, well, that's where I get traffic.
Right.
They were in the print articles, but they weren't going on. So, and then the editors, they changed editors like 3 or 4 times. I got lost in the shuffle anyways. Like, I'm not going to bother. And then I know Jeremy White from the Red Stick, the kind of the Onion of the Baton Rouge area. Yeah. And so I'm writing a series of articles for him called This Week in White Guilt.
Sounds interesting.
Where I kind of just shit on white people for a while. It's very fun. Like I wrote the first.
So you're a white male.
Yes.
I'm assuming you're straight. I have no idea.
Mostly, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Most people exist somewhere on that spectrum. Yeah. Anyway, so and you write.
Well, I wrote the first article because I had a joke that I liked, but it wasn't going to be a good joke. I knew it wasn't going to stay. It was about Austin, Texas, where after my trip. I was like, it was too fucking white, too PC. And I'm not even a guy who's like anti-PC. I like political correctness because it's, hey, let's all not be dicks to each other. That's cool with me.
I think to some extent it's fine, but I think there are some people that take it a little too far.
And Austin, Texas is a city of those people. It's just filled with them. And so I had some jokes about it, but like, it wasn't really working. But in article form, it actually worked very well. Yeah. I was like, this actually makes a good article or essay. And so I wrote This Week in White Guilt, Austin, Texas. Just talking about how just dumb shit like we need to help people of color. Well, then move out of their fucking neighborhoods and stop making their groceries so goddamn expensive. Like they don't want Whole Foods, they want Shoppers Value.
Yeah,
and frankly, so do I.
Yeah,
and so I wrote basically a lot of that. Like, look, white people, I get it, we're evil, but you're taking it too far. And the second one I just wrote my second one for them. What was it about? God damn it, I can't remember I just wrote it too. It came out like the other day, but yeah, it's just a series.
It's fine. Sometimes brains are shit. I get it.
There's a comedy festival in New York that were accepting, because comedy festivals, the thing about them is I'm very mixed about comedy festivals. Some are very good, some are very bad. Does this one
at least pay you or at least pay for your flight? No flight? You gotta pay for your own flight?
Comedy festivals not only don't pay you, you have to pay to submit.
Oh, it's so
sometimes up to $40, depending.
It's crazy.
And I expressed it in the article. I'm very mixed on them.
Wait, to even submit? So even on the chance that you will be accepted,
might not get accepted.
You have to pay. Mm-hmm. That is nuts. Yeah. Look at the sponsors for these things.
Exactly.
Mean, you would think...
Well, and this thing, it's all about like how they use the money. The festivals themselves can be very fun. It's a fun way to just hang out with comedians. Because here's the thing. When you go to a festival, you're usually doing watered down versions of those shows that are in that town. You can just go to that town and do those shows, and there'll be better versions of those shows. But the festival, I find it more to be like a fun summer camp kind of thing. Like, I'm going to hang out with comedians. And it's a fun way to mix with comedians from across the country. That's true. Sense. But there's a lot of, like, ethical issues with, like, the pay to submit thing. And, it's a very convoluted and controversial and hard to talk about subject. But there was a comedy festival in New York that was going to fight the wage gap. 77 cents to the dollar. And the way they did this, like I said, if they had said women and people of color submit for free, great. Actually, I support that. That's awesome. Or even like just don't mention it. Just accept more people of color, women, whatever. What they did was that if you're a comedian who's a woman or person of color, that for every dollar a white male pays to submit, you only pay 77 cents. I said, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because you know what? All that's going to happen is that more women and people of color will submit, so you'll just make more money off of them than you did the white men who just decide not to submit.
So I guess why was I see what your reasoning now is of why I guess you would even prefer them to be free.
Yeah.
I just think everybody should have the same price.
Oh,
like
that's what the second point is, like, or just don't mention the wage gap and just accept more women, people of color. Like, just have those criteria. Like, okay, as festival organizers, without telling anyone, we're just gonna go ahead and accept. We're gonna pick more women and people of color on purpose.
So there's this lady online. She has a YouTube channel. She was on Joe. She calls herself the Factual Feminist.
I've seen her.
Yeah. So she has this argument against the whole wage gap thing. I mean, do you subscribe to the wage gap idea? What's the?
I try and be a feminist to a point where I don't mention it. Like, okay. I think the least feminist thing to do, like, okay, my friend, I don't remember who it was.
I think in the current environment, it sets off alarm bells.
Yes, but here's the thing. Here, I did not come up with this joke. This is someone else's joke. I wish I could credit them properly, but their joke was, I'm a feminist, says guy trying to get his dick sucked.
Oh, I see. All right. So you are trying to get your dick sucked. Just not,
I'm not that guy.
Just not through the feminist.
I don't say I'm a feminist.
Okay.
My way of being a feminist is I just treat people equally, but without mentioning it. Because I don't give a shit. Be a woman. That's not your choice. Right. Be transgendered. Yeah. Be black. I don't give a shit if you're black or white. Right. Just be you. And look, I don't care. But the problem is I actually have been called misogynist because I treated a woman equally one night. And she took it as being, I'm like, no, I'm actually treating you very equally right now. Because I objectified a friend of mine, a male friend of mine, like, well, because he bombed on stage, like, well, you're lucky you have a huge dick. And then this female made a joke about her tits. Mm-hmm. She made a joke about her tits.
Right. In that case, she started it.
And then after she got off stage, like, well, you're lucky your tits did great up there. Something like that. Just continuing her own joke. Right. And then she blasted me on Facebook.
See, that's a dirty thing to do.
It was.
It's like, look, you were just carrying on the funny. That was nothing.
Yeah, but
did she laugh when you said
Oh no, she walked away.
Oh, she was immediately.
She walked away immediately. And girls like, well.
See, that's a double standard. I just don't like.
But that's the thing. It's kind of this whole price. Like, the way I'm a feminist is that I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm very much socially liberal.
Right.
I don't have political viewpoints necessarily. I don't care about politics. I don't know who's gonna fix our country. I don't know who's gonna break our country. Do you, man? I don't care. But the only thing I do care about is people.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I care about is people should be treated like people, no matter who they are, who they fuck, who they do.
How much money they get in their pocket, it doesn't matter.
I don't
None
care.
of that shit matters.
My political viewpoint is I don't give a shit.
Yep.
That's my way of being a feminist. Is I don't fucking care.
No fucks to give party.
Yeah.
We've got jackets. You should join our club.
I don't care. And I think that's actually the most feminist thing I could do is not give a shit about feminists.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part.
That's the whole thing. Like, I don't subscribe to anything necessarily.
Yeah, I would describe myself as a feminist in that I want women to have the same rights as men.
Exactly. That's same.
Fine. I've got no problem with that.
But they shouldn't vote.
No, of course not.
They absolutely shouldn't vote.
I mean, come on. Be serious here. Women voting, shame on you.
No, but that wage gap thing, which is like, all that did was that now they're going to profit more on those people rather than just treat them equally.
Right.
Which
I'd also be interested in seeing the numbers on how many women and African Americans they did take on.
Yeah, probably not.
Was it disproportionate?
Maybe so. I want to see the numbers on who's actually submitted at all. Because I think actually fewer white men just submitted at all. I think
that makes sense.
Whatever.
I think it would, in fact, just steer away the white men.
But if you're a comedian and want to do a good comedy festival, you should check out Hell Yes Fest in New Orleans every November. It's a fucking great festival. No lie. Very fun. And also New Orleans is the real city that doesn't sleep. And so...
That's very fucking true.
I remember one of the most fun nights in comedy was me and a bunch of other comedians from across the country, like John Michael Bond from Atlanta, Josh Lathy from Oklahoma City, Jay Whitecotton from Austin, and people from New Orleans. We're all hanging out at Cajun's Karaoke Bar at fucking 5 a.m, still just what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, I had some very interesting times.
We were singing karaoke, and instead of lyrics, we were singing
Cat's Meow?
We were singing 9/11 conspiracy theories.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And all I can say is that life is pretty strange because George W. Bush did 9/11.
It's true, folks.
Jet fuel can't melt, and the DJs hated us.
Did you see there was a guy online? He's like a metalsmith. He did a video on.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, I loved that.
That's a great video.
So good.
That was
Eventually, I'll have a TriCaster, and I'll be able to push up video to the streaming folks at home. At the moment, there's no film or anything set up.
That GoPro's useless.
I know, right? I know. It's an old bike GoPro.
Yeah. The audience has no idea what we're talking about here.
I know, right? They can't see the room.
Oh, well. That's their loss.
That's true. Actually, no, they can see the room because if you look at my last podcast, that is filmed. That was my first.
What the fuck am I doing here?
That was my first attempt with the GoPro. I don't know if I'm going to post the actual video though. It's just a GoPro's weird. It's got this weird fisheye sort of lens.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite capture, I guess, the
They get a little weird.
They do. So I've I don't know yet. I need a better camera is what I need to do.
I mean, you got a good setup here, man. And
like I said, I'm putting a lot into it.
Yeah, I mean, I know people with podcasts, and this is like twice as nice as theirs.
Like I said, I'm trying. Like I want to make this a real thing.
And as you fucking should, it's great.
Exactly. It's a wonderful thing. I think podcasts are good for.
And if you're
ideas.
mobile, you're free to come record at Pop Shop.
That's another thing I was going to say, sir. Is this is right here is a setup for 2.
Yeah.
Eventually, I will have a switchboard. The switchboard will include a setup for 4.
There you go.
I mean,
But hey, if you want to come to Pop Shop mobile. With this, you can record at Pop Shop, like before the show happens.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a great way.
Oh, that would be perfect.
That way, you can definitely get some comedians on there.
Fantastic. Do you think it'd be open up for me to snag a table?
They have a back room.
Okay.
They have a back room. You can definitely do it like an office area.
Okay. Yeah.
Or just in the back before the show starts also works.
And you said that's most of the time Thursdays.
It's usually on Thursdays. Well, I actually.
How do you announce the show?
I have a Facebook page, Listening Party.
Okay.
Instagram, Listening Party Show is just mostly for posters and pictures from the show that just happened. And I also just on my personal Facebook, Twitter, I'm like, hey, this is happening.
Fantastic.
Also, all of my dates are on my website, which is a Tumblr. evanrabalais.tumblr.com has all my dates, which includes every listening party that is booked so far.
Fantastic. So they wouldn't have a problem with me hanging out in the back room recording people?
Shouldn't.
Okay, fantastic.
They're really cool people over there. Pop Shop, like I said,
I know some people can be
one of the best. Like I said earlier, it is crazy how good they are to me as a comedian. Like they infinitely
they like you,
more helpful to have a venue that wants comedy to happen.
There are some good people out there.
There are, and Carrie Berry at Atomic Prop Shop is one of them. Matthew Polito, who works there, is one of them. They're amazing people, and I love them to death over there. And I hope to this is the show I want to continue on even after I move. It's a show that I want to grow, and when I move in a few years, hey, I want to be able to hand it off and be like, I trust you, local comedian. Take my baby and raise him as your own now.
Of course. I think for that, though, you really have to find somebody that you can trust truly has a love for comedy.
What's probably going to happen is I'll probably give it to one of those guys who I say is quote unquote stuck here.
Yeah.
And not even in a mean way. Like, I actually respect hobby comics very much. Like, hobby comics, those guys, like I said, worst case scenario, I end up getting a dead end job here forever.
Right.
And I'll be doing the open mic still. That's a hobby comic. The guy who they know they're not going to make a career out of it. My friend Mike Honore, one of the best comedians I've ever met, is the definition of the hobby comic worth respecting. He has a day job. He has a long-term girlfriend, and he's going to live in Baton Rouge forever probably, if all things continue the way they're going. But he's an amazing comedian. He'll still go out and do weekends in like Austin, Atlanta, whatever. Mm-hmm. He still has to go out and do comedy, but for the most part, he's going to stay at home and do comedy and just do it because he loves doing it.
Right.
And it'd probably end up handing off to someone like that. Him or Josh, like hand it to them. Or maybe there's a new young comic who
of course
I love to death and I want him to succeed. I give it to him.
So do you think there's a too old to start comedy?
No.
Because my original thought was that you needed to get some life experience in the real world to understand the people, to be able to give them a narrative that they're going to really connect with.
I don't think it's too old. The best new comedian in Baton Rouge is a guy named Tim Smith. He's 29. He started like 4 or 5 months ago, and he's like the best new comic.
Okay, I might check him out.
Oh, he's great. He's headlining on the 23rd at the station.
Okay.
I'm hosting that show. But
Twisted Third this month?
the 22nd or 23rd, whichever the Wednesday is.
Okay.
The 20-something that's a Wednesday.
Okay.
That's the day he's headlining and I'm hosting. But yeah, I think when like I said earlier, I want to make LSU like a pipeline to comedy. I think I should make the LSU students kind of like I want them to start improv first, because improv is a great way to like build the chops of comedy without having to do stand up. And that way, when they actually get some life experience under the belt, they can start doing stand up comedy and that kind of stuff to talk about. Because improv, you don't really need anything to talk about. You just need these skills to make shit up effectively.
Of course.
And build a scene. It's still very difficult, but it's much more a technical art.
I think it'd probably be closer to like riffing with your friends. Where
It is.
More of a feeling thing.
It absolutely is, especially with the family dinner when we're not professional about it at all. We are very unprofessional, which is fun. But it's much more like improv is much more a technical comedy art. Mm-hmm. It's much more like learning to make things up, and you don't really have to have a life experience to pull from. You just have to have the ability of improv to pull from.
Right.
Where with stand-up, it's much more personal. It's like, I need to talk about things that matter to me. Or you need to learn how to make a joke. That's also effective. You should definitely learn how to make jokes.
There are lots of comics out there that don't talk about personal stuff.
Oh.
Granted, I prefer the ones that do, that can dig into themselves and figure out and pull out comedy. I really enjoy that.
But every comedian still needs to learn how to tell a joke.
Of course.
My biggest issue is comedians that never learn how to tell jokes. Because they're not good, but they think they are. Just because you're telling... There was a dude who... It's a joke that comedians make, but I literally heard him say, I'm here to make you think. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Oh, come on, man.
No, you're supposed to be trying to make me laugh. If I happen to think in the process,
great.
Fantastic. But no, you should not be up there saying it's your job to make you think. It's your job to make a fucking joke, you asshole.
What comic am I thinking of? He does a bit about someone coming home, turning on the news, and hearing a beautiful story about a kid having an LSD trip. I
don't know. Local?
No, big guy, famous, dead now.
Oh, shit.
But that sounds like his style. A lot of people
Hicks?
Hicks. That's it, Hicks.
Oh, well, Hicks is the worst thing to happen in comedy.
You think I don't like the people that try to be Hicks.
Exactly. No, Hicks is fine. Look,
I like Hicks.
Very influential. Bill Hicks was great. Yeah. Actually, I have two problems with Bill Hicks. First of all, is the people that try to be a Bill Hicks. Yes. The second thing is that if you Google Baton Rouge comedy, one of the first results is Bill Hicks explaining his worst gig was in Baton Rouge.
Oh, no.
Where he almost got stabbed.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
At a disco.
Didn't you get punched?
Yeah, I've been punched.
Yeah.
I've been punched on stage.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. But I was like, man, fuck you, Bill Hicks. Now people Google Baton Rouge comedy. That's what fucking... I hate you.
Yeah, well, you know. What about the... did you see... it was Bill Burr when he let me see, the crowd had been like shitty to all the comics.
Philadelphia.
Oh yes, I loved that. It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that still cracks me up, man.
I saw Bill Hicks. I saw Bill Burr, not Bill Hicks. If I saw Bill Hicks, that'd been fucking...
Yeah. How'd you do that?
Well, I am a wizard. But I saw Bill Burr in New Orleans 2 years ago, and he did a bit that was so good. I was like convinced that was going on his next special.
That was one thing I'm a little confused about. How do you, as a comic, enjoy comedy without allowing other people's, I guess, thoughts or other people's influence into your work?
Well, I can't watch John Mulaney very much because I become John Mulaney.
Too similar?
Yes. It's a thing where like I've kind of turned it to where my biggest influences are people who are not like me at all. So that I couldn't emulate their style if I tried to. Like, I can't be Bill Burr. I can't be Tom Segura. I can't be Kyle Kinane. But I can definitely be John Mulaney. So I watched John Mulaney's new special. I love it. And I'm like, all right, now go away
distance. For a while. I have to work.
Same with this guy, Tommy Johnigan, who's amazing. His half hour is killer. I can't watch too much of him because I just become Tommy Johnigan. Chad Daniels, his hour is amazing. Can't watch it because I just become him. Like, it's the thing you have to just kind of know when to kind of go, okay. There's some people you have to consciously not emulate because they're very similar to you.
Of course.
Or you're more similar to them, actually, is a better way of putting it. But luckily, I can watch all the Kyle Kinane I want and never sound like him.
Well, that's one thing I kind of like about podcasts is that I'm influenced by a lot of things and a lot of people. I watch, obviously, I watch Joe Rogan, watch Dan Carlin's.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that I do actually come from Joe.
Yeah.
But I got in through him from watching comedy. But I watch, there's lots of of things I do during work when I should be doing work.
Yeah.
Just pass the time, listen while I'm doing mindless data entry or whatever. And so
hell,
those
Tuesdays with Stories is a great podcast.
But those by all means,
Mark Norman and
check
Joe
that
List.
out.
Mark Norman and Joe List. Hey.
So
Mark Norman from New Orleans. Very opens Amy Schumer. Very good comic.
all right.
Also one of my favorites. Mark Norman. It was so good. Mark Norman's
So
one
the
of those
list
guys.
keeps going.
Mark Norman is one of those guys that like I see him live. I'm like, well, I gotta be better.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing. There's a difference. Like there's guys that are so good. You're like, well, I'm never gonna be that good.
Guys that are inspiring.
Yeah, like there's guys like I'll never be that good. Like Kyle Kinane. I'm like I watch him do 2 hours and 2 nights. I'm like I'll never be that good. But then I watch Mark Norman. And I'm like I gotta write more jokes because that's great. I gotta be better at comedy, which is it's so fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bill Burr. I watched him do a joke that was so good. I was convinced it was gonna be his next special, and when it wasn't, I was like, where's that fucking joke? It needs to be on that special. People need to hear this joke. He did a bit where he compared like famous sports figures, famous athletes, to various dictators.
Okay.
Like Hitler, clearly the Michael Jordan of dictators. And something like it was so good. And like he compared people say, oh, what about Mao? What about Mao? He kills some people. Mao's like Barry Bonds. He's like, look. You did it in China. You drive off the road for 10 seconds, you kill 1 million of them.
Yeah, that's
you gotta put an asterisk next to his name. Like, oh my, it was so fucking funny. And then his next special came out, like, where's that joke?
Well, probably because people, I think people on his show, I follow his podcast as well. People on his show were bitching at him because he does a lot of sports stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's a good chunk of his following that doesn't like sports. Maybe he thought it was bad and cut it out.
It's so good though. I hope it's on his next one. I hope he's kept it because it's so fucking funny. But the influence thing is hard.
That's one thing I really like about podcast is that I don't I have all these ideas and like all this collection of ideas, which is pretty much what I am. I'm a collection of everyone's ideas and everyone's influence.
You are what
I
you
can
need.
share these ideas without without
ripping them off.
Exactly. I have no problem whatsoever saying, I think I got this idea from here.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that do podcasts, a lot of people in general get their ideas from other people.
Yeah.
You may not understand.
Well, that's why comedians help each other out. Like the station, is it's an open mic. So what we do is we go out and tell new jokes, and then every other comedian be like, hey, that was a John Mulaney bit. You're like, oh, thanks for telling me, because that happens too. You hear a bit and you like. Eventually, you forget that you heard it from someone else, and eventually it just turns into like, oh, I thought of this.
Right, exactly.
And then you say like, no, that's Mulaney. I told a Louis C.K. joke for like 2 weeks, and I didn't know it. And they're like, that's Louis. I'm like, oh, shit. And I was like, fuck. I burned the house down. I was like, no.
Of course.
And you feel so bad for doing it, too.
Of course you do. But I mean, as long as I think it's the difference is as long as you own it.
Oh, yeah.
And
for sure.
It's
all about intention.
It's a mistake.
It's all about intention. Yeah.
Exactly.
But the influence thing is like, comedians, they check each other. Comedians are the only line of defense for other comedians. People try and say, oh, comedians, they can say whatever they want. No, they don't. The audience can't tell you what to do, but other comedians do keep each other in check. Like, hey, you probably shouldn't fucking do that. The first rule of comedy is be funny.
Of course.
Everything you do, as long as it's funny. There's other rules. They're unwritten. Yeah. There's in air quotes rules. But first and foremost, if it's funny, it transcends those rules.
Everything.
As long as it's under rule 1, be funny. If it's not as funny as that, then you start following the other rules. And there's guys like they tell these they say horrible things on stage. Like, hey, bro,
just trying to get a laugh.
Hey, bro, don't do that.
I think hearing a dirty comic, or at least a new dirty comic, is very difficult to do because they don't understand where the line is yet.
It's not even where the line is, just what to do. Because blue comedy is so difficult.
But when it's right, it's so good. It's so
My
good.
friend Lane Loyan, we started around the same time. He was from Lafayette. He lives in New Orleans now. And he's been dirty from day one. Like, that's the kind of comedy he loves.
Right.
And I've always loved him because I've always been there alongside of him.
Of course.
And there have been times where we're like, audience like, you should stop.
Turn about.
My dad hated him.
Yeah.
My dad.
Of course.
My dad literally, he was my dad's least favorite comic, which is saying something. Because my dad's seen a lot of comedy because I'm a comic. So he comes to shows because he's overly supportive.
Well, that's nice to have support, though.
But it's been 3-4 years, so it's become refined to a good point now where he actually knows where the line is and knows how to write a dirty joke properly. But there's
there's a refinement process.
But I remember watching crowds squirm, and it's like, ooh. But
sometimes those are fun though. Sometimes I enjoy watching
his new outlet. His new outlet for those things that do go past the line is he has a character.
Oh, all right, that's a good way of doing it. Then it's not you.
This character is hands down some of the smartest comedy I've ever seen. He is a Cajun Juggalo comic named Gaston Hebert.
Oh God!
Follow Gaston Hebert on Facebook.
Oh wait, Gaston Hebert has his own Facebook. Oh yes, folks,
and
go follow this guy.
He posts every day, and it makes his catchphrase is, "Oh man, this good."
It reminds me of have you seen Florida Man?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love Florida Man. He's my favorite.
Well, Gaston Hebert, like he headlined a show recently in Lafayette, 28 minutes, and you can listen to the recording on SoundCloud. It is seriously because he tells the dumbest shit. But it's so smart.
Right.
The way he tells these dumb jokes. His character he's also an evolving character. He's not just a character to tell jokes in. His character literally has a life that he lives, and he evolves as a person.
That's amazing.
Like, he killed himself at one point and came back from hell.
Oh, that's great.
You can find his suicide note on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Gaston Hebert suicide note.
Oh, yes.
Where he talks about how he goes, my dear friends, I have killed myself, and I want to go to hell to meet my favorite juggalo, the Crow.
Oh, God, that sounds amazing.
It's seriously, it's one of my favorite things in the world is Gaston Hebert on Facebook, and just, oh man, this good. And that catchphrase has become such a gift to like the local comedy scene, because you'll see other comedians, like, if someone posts some dumb shit, you'll just see a comedian post, oh man, this good. That's like our new comedy meta joke is that catchphrase, and it was like, it's such a gift from Lane as Gaston to the comedy world. Like, exactly. Thank you for this. But that's like my favorite comedian now is Gaston Hebert, because he does the character kind of came about. His first time on stage, there was an open mic in New Orleans that is it's kind of like they call it a challenge mic. It's always a house party. You either do brand new material, or you can go with you can play a game on stage while you're doing your jokes. Okay. Like one guy had to go through Hurricane Andrew Polk, which is he did a set while they had like a big fan and they threw leaves and water at them. And they made them go through a hurricane while they were doing their set. One guy had to have a hot dog eating contest while he had his set.
Oh, yes.
But they were raw hot dogs.
Ooh. Oh, that's rough.
But the other thing is you also do a character. And that's where Gaston first appeared, was at this character open mic. But the character first formed it was a group text between me, Andrew, and Lane, where we were doing Cajun medical dictionary jokes. Because there's a clean Cajun comic in Lafayette named Daryl Parolin who has a medical dictionary of Cajun terms. Like, here's this Cajun term, here's what it means. Dumb, clean, old guy jokes. And so we were sending each other horrible things. Like, jokes that I literally cannot repeat on a podcast because they were...
It's too bad for the internet.
If people heard me say them, I would be, like, eaten alive. Like, people would murder me in the streets if they heard. And we were just... Because that's all... When comedians... That's another thing about comedy.
Yeah, how dirty each other.
When you're in the car with other comedians, it becomes a game of literally who can say the worst thing.
It's dirty chicken.
Not even dirty chicken. I wouldn't even say dirty. Just literally... horrible. Okay. It transcends dirty. Like,
I guess that's kind of what I meant by dirty.
Because comedians, they don't have a line with each other. It's a filter. In the car, like me and Mike Honoré drive 8 hours to Atlanta. Well, the 8 hours there, we have to get this shit out of our system.
Of course.
Or else we will say it out loud and people will, and that's what
and then you'll be strung up in the streets.
And that's what this group text was. This group text was me, Andrew, and Lane seeing these horrible Cajun medical dictionary jokes. And some of those are in his act now. The lighter ones, obviously.
Right.
I'll give you one that's he has like dumb ones like, oh, what you call that forklift, huh? What you call that forklift? That's after you put your fork down. Oh, damn. That's a good one, yeah. And then he has ones...
Squeaky clean, but...
And then he has ones like Tamir Rice. guilty, which is horrible. Because Tamir Rice is a 12-year-old who was murdered in the streets.
Yes.
So guilty is like, oh my God. So it goes both ways. Civil rights, more like civil wrongs. And it's like, this is the smartest shit. Because people don't get it. It takes a lot of finesse to be dirty. And even more finesse to say horrible things.
Oh, yeah. Bad dirty comic is really bad.
But good dirty comic is like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Good dirty comic is just mind-blowing.
Look, every comedian, like, look, people.
Jim Jeffries. I love me some Jim Jeffries.
And I think a lot of comedy fans are more protective of that kind of like clean comedy fans are like, well, they think they're above dirty comedy fans. Like, oh, you don't need to say these words.
I thought it was hot shit when I got a hold of my first Unbookables album, which was Stanhope and his crew. Yeah, that was so good. But these clean comedy fans, they think they're above. Oh, we don't listen to that dirty comedy. And then dirty comedy fans like, oh, fuck you dumb, you dumb assholes. But clean comics respect dirty comics, and dirty comics. Yeah, how do you do that clean?
And then dirty comics go, how'd you do that without saying anything dirty? Right. They all respect each other, but the fans of those art forms are assholes, and they're terrible. But so you watch Gaston, and if you watch it through a lens of like comedy, you're like, this is genius. And if you listen to his like headline he said on SoundCloud, there are times where you'll hear like me and Andrew Polk and Isaac Cazell in the back of the room die. I fell on the floor at one point, and I've like pinpointed. He has one joke, and I'm just repeating Gaston's jokes now because I feel horrible, but it's so funny. I have to share them with the world. I want the world to know about Gaston Hebert. He goes, it's the time of Lent. Give it up for the Jesus. Yeah, he's good. Let's all say a prayer for Jesus and Lent. Dear Jesus, please forgive us for feeding our kid with Asperger's the chicken nuggets on Friday. And at that point, I fell on the floor laughing because it just, everything about that joke, I understood it, I got it, and it hit me perfectly. It was like, that's beautiful.
Like, oh, my family was in that joke. I felt it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful joke.
It is. Everything. I don't know. Do you have to be from here to really get to really connect with that?
Maybe.
That's part of it. Very here thing.
I understand. Gaston is probably funny everywhere, but it's probably only as funny as it can be in the Lafayette area, or people that understand the area of Lafayette.
That's where I'm from. Yeah.
And so like it's probably the funniest to those people, but it's still funny everywhere.
Yeah.
As long as you can introduce the character properly. But it's really, it's an amazing thing watching him evolve that character. Every time he posts on Facebook, everything that happens in the world, he treats it like it's a thing that Gaston learned. Gaston learns and lives life. He just happens to not exist.
That's amazing.
If you follow him on Facebook, it's just he went through a time where he was being tortured.
His own Facebook.
Oh, he was tortured by memes for a while. various memes were inside his head. Like Mr. Snow from the Rudolph movie was inside his brain. I'm in you, brain. He called him the Snow Jew.
Yes.
Ernest was in his brain for a while. It's so funny, and that was a time that Gaston lived, and now that time period can be referenced in his act, and it's so good. I just want the world to know about good comedy.
I think
fuck me, don't listen to me, don't watch my comedy. I'm fine, but don't watch me. Go watch my friends. They're great.
I think, I think that's one of the reasons I've always loved comedy. Like even if I've had a really shitty day, I can come home and watch somebody just riff beautifully about their shit day that they've had, but the way that they put it, it just has me on the
Absolutely.
floor.
Like that's why being friends with my roommate is Chase Myers. That's my roommate, and that's
be fun.
He's quiet, but when we're both in the mood to riff, he's great at it. Chase is the guy like, okay, the car ride is like me, Mike Honoré, Josh Watts, and Chase Myers. Chase and Mike are the loudest ones. They come out swinging everything. Ooh, left, right, joke. I'll come in like, oh, joke. And then Chase, holding back the whole time, every 15, 20 minutes, comes in, quiet joke. Oh, shit, that's the funniest thing anyone said. That's the funniest joke of the night. And that's he goes,
subtle.
This joke.
Subtle, but makes it count.
Yeah. So that's like a perfect storm car ride, is those four. Oh, it's so much fun. And that's the kind of thing I think that's a very noble reason to be in comedy, is to hang out with comedians.
Not even just hang out with comedians. I think it's a noble thing to spread laughter. I think that's a wonderful thing to give somebody. It's a great gift.
It's one of those...
Or hand jobs. You can give hand jobs. That's
sure. I do that all the time. That's how I pay all my people in listening party. Hand jobs.
That's the way to do it.
But like,
if you ever want to step up in the world, blowjobs, man. It's
honestly, I think a great reason to want to start comedy is to hang out with comedians because they're a breed of their own. And I hate elitist people until I realized, like, oh, I get it. I get why people are elitist now because comedians are their own brand of people and only they get it. So I think that's a very good reason to actually start going to comedy. If anyone out there wants to find a reason, there's a reason. Comedians are great to hang out with. Super fun people. And it's actually...
I've certainly enjoyed them.
The worst idea for a show I have is called Comedy Jam Band, which is an open mic, but with no structure, where I just have like 5 mics on stage, and there's people who go up there and riff.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I would go to that. I would go to that in a heartbeat.
It sounds horrible to me, and I'm a comedian. I'm like, it sounds like...
it sounds like a train wreck, but I would go to it because it's a train wreck. But I want to see that train wreck.
Like, open mic's like, next comic, 5 minutes. Next comic. This is like, if you have a joke you want to tell, go up there and start telling your new jokes, and then other comedians go...
Sounds like a fist fight is what it sounds like.
Other comedians come on stage and riff with you on your own jokes, and go, oh shit, that's good. That's going to go in my act now. And yeah, fuck yeah. And then 5 people on stage just riffing with each other. Like, it sounds like a bad podcast, but live and horrible. It's the worst. And I openly admit, that's the worst idea for a show ever that I still kind of want to do.
I would go to that show. Like, I don't care how bad. I would go because it was bad. Like, if it was kind of like I love B horror movies.
Yeah.
Because they're so horrible, they're good.
Horror, it's the B horror comedy of comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would go to that. I would go to that in a heartbeat.
The biggest issue with that is that it sounds horrible. No venue.
It does. No one's going to book that.
No one should want to do that.
No.
And no one should.
I agree.
Comedians wouldn't. It's one of the comedians might enjoy it for the novelty.
No. That's what I should do. Once I get my studio set up, I'll pop up the grill, throw some steaks on, invite a bunch of people over, and we'll do your idea, man.
Well, there you go. I'm down with it.
Yeah, we got the sun's been down, but then we've got a huge space out back. Man.
There you go.
It's all covered. Like, even if it rains, we're totally good.
Well, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Let's do that.
My friends are in too because they'll do anything.
Oh, fantastic.
That's another thing. Comedians will do anything,
and I will feed them. Of course,
more
feed
than
them
we can ask for.
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you, comedians will do anything. We will do any show. I've done any show. I have done shows that I know. I'm like, that's going to be horrible. We go, and it's horrible. I'm like, well, that's exactly what I expected it to be.
Even those shows in the back of a van, the windowless ones.
We actually, the car ride I was talking about, me, Mike, Chase, and Josh, we did a show in Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Oh, no.
In a bar that we got there, and we thought we were lost. And we got there and like just immediately, well, this is either wrong or we're gonna die here. This better be the wrong venue. We better have the wrong address, and we didn't. It was right
fun, cozy.
And 3 people paid attention to us. The TVs were still on. There are people playing chess in the back, which was weird.
Chess?
There was a chessboard, which was weird. But so TVs were on, which is always a bad thing. And at one point we see the bartender. She gets up and she goes to the TV like, oh, she's gonna turn the TV off. Cool. And she just mutes it. We're like, oh,
fun.
That's great.
Did she at least put the captions on?
I think she might have. I don't know.
Because all right, if there were captions and people were paying attention, okay. If not,
I remember it was Van Helsing.
Okay,
was the movie that was on.
All right, that's pretty flashy.
Yeah, but 3 people gave a shit, and I wouldn't even say they gave a shit. They were at least looking at us, and I was just like, hey, you like mixed martial arts? And like, yeah. I'm like, oh, good. Okay. Here's some jokes. Like, oh, we didn't like the jokes though. I didn't think you would. Okay.
Sorry.
Moving on then. And that was, we each had 20 minutes of that.
Oh, wow.
We all did 20 minutes. Like, you like this? No? Well, here's another thing you won't like. You like this? No?
No? All right. Moving on to the next thing.
Didn't think you would. And we made $20 each, which that's not bad.
Hey, man. I mean, $20 isn't bad. Yeah.
But actually, that trip was worth it because of the 2.5-hour car ride.
I was about to say, was it at least gas money?
Yeah.
Oh, especially now, $5 is gas money again. It's wonderful.
Yeah, like honestly, it's one of those, the 2-hour car ride was worth it for that shit show. The 2 hours there, 2 hour back, because that was one of those things. I think Josh just got super high and he found his riffing groove. Oh, the groove I talked about earlier that you just don't know why. Of course. Everything he said hit. It just everything he was saying in the car, like, that's killer. I almost crashed the car 3 times. I was driving. I almost crashed the car 3 times, laughing too hard. There were one point we were making fun of cops. We saw a cop. He goes, "That cop better fucking not watch out for us." Oh shit, we're gonna do it. And then Mike goes up. He goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna have pig blood on my knucks."
So I have an uncle who's a cop. I'm waiting for the day. I so want somebody to be in the car with me. Yes, for one, I'd have to have a car. But I want somebody to be in the car with me who doesn't know my uncle's a cop, and I want my uncle to pull me over because I'm gonna fuck with them so hard.
That's great. Yeah, pig blood on my knucks. And he goes, ooh, why the devil bless me with such evil? Ooh. And that was Mike. And I still reference that to him. I'm like, oh, why the devil bless me with such evil? It's so fucking funny. And like, I think at one point I did have to stop the car. I'm like, okay, breathe. Holy shit. All right, we can still drive. And that's why I love comedy.
Of course.
That's like, that's one of the many reasons. One of the many reasons is like that right there is the car ride with comedians.
Well, that's kind of the thing I'm learning is that I've gotten to the point where, yeah, I made decent money, but it doesn't make me any happier. What makes me really happy is doing the things I enjoy doing, making podcasts and making videos and stuff.
But money is very nice.
Oh, it's very nice to have. I really appreciate it, and I'm using it to fuel as much and pour as much love back into the community as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I think I would rather be doing something I much more enjoy than it's more about the experience and less about, how much money they gave you to stick in your pocket.
Exactly. But I mean that's all it is. I do comedy. Comedy's the worst paying job in the world. And
I've never seen apart from like maybe the guys that sell out like, stadiums, but
it takes, it doesn't take much to make money doing it. Like, it's easy to stay alive doing comedy if you're on the road 100% of the time, because you just go from small show to small show, making small amount of money to small amount of money, but enough to get gas money and food before the next show. So night after night, you're making enough for gas money to get to the next show and food to eat before the next show. That's easy to do. The hard thing to do is to then have a place to live,
right,
and pay rent,
exactly,
and like live in a city and do things in the city that take money, like watch movies, and it's hard to do that kind of thing with comedy.
And I think also as a comic, it might be kind of hard to stay present with how the general mood of the population as far as like their current pop culture. If
literally the only thing you spend money on is gas money and food, you can technically make a living doing comedy, driving 100% of the time, but you won't have a cell phone or the internet. So I don't know how you're booking these shows, and you won't know anything about the world because you'll be on the road too much. But technically, you could do it. And that's just one of those things. Like, it's possible. That's why you'll see a lot of people like at my level will do at most like a week or 2 week long air quotes tour where we just drive down the Gulf Coast up to Atlanta, coming back, maybe go out to Austin and then circle back and have it be like a tour. And then that's what we did, and hopefully break even when we get home. And that's what we do is like we'll take 2 weeks off work or whatever we're doing, drive for 2 weeks doing shows, and come back and like, that was the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. I have zero money left.
Yes.
I'm poor. Start over. And it's weird to be in a situation where my whole goal financially, like, I think I knew I wanted to do comedy forever when I realized that if I won the lottery, I would just use that money to do comedy more.
Right.
I would buy a van to bring my friends with me, and we would drive and eat at nice restaurants and stay at nice hotels while doing comedy.
Exactly.
That's what we would do. But we'd still be doing comedy. I'd still like, that's the main goal.
Exactly.
I use all that money just to make life easier to do comedy in.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the only. I guess I lost the idea that money was gonna, buy me happiness. I guess, which was a spell I was under for a very, very long time. And then, even after I snapped myself out of that whole idea, then it was like, okay, well, I've gone this far in this career. How the fuck do I change it?
Yeah.
Like, now I've got bills and loans and.
I think that the advantage I had was I never started life. I never started the adult life.
That's the advice here, children, is don't start life.
Don't do it.
Don't be an adult. Just don't. It's a bad idea.
If you want to go the starving artist route, start out as a starving artist.
Yes. I'm finding it's much more difficult to start from where I am and to try plummet to the artist level.
Yeah.
Because plummet safely, I guess, is the idea there.
I'm in a very fortunate. That's part of why I'm still here in Baton Rouge. I'm in a very fortunate situation with my family. I have a nice situation here with that.
Well, it's good that they've supported you. That's a really good thing. That's one thing I think my one of my sons. I think he seems like more of it. Like if you hear about that most comedians have a story and there's a lot of similarities, and he seems to fit a lot of those bills. So if that's something he chooses to do, like I'm totally in support of whatever it is he chooses to do.
Don't support him 100% because that's bad for creativity.
Of course,
he won't flourish creatively if he has no roadblock.
Yes.
Like creativity. Like when I was freelancing for Dig, I don't think they understood this. I needed them to give me a subject to write. They said, write about whatever you want. I'm like, no. Don't tell me write whatever I want, because then I won't write anything.
Right.
Tell me write about fashion. I'm like, I can do that. Yeah. Okay, now my brain is focused on fashion. I can write a funny article about clothes or whatever have you. Oh, write about sex. Totally can do that. Cool. Do that. It's like to creatively break out of a box, you still need a box.
Right.
To think out, you still need something to break out of.
Of course.
For creativity to flourish.
Right.
If you just say, here's free reign for everything, where do I start?
I don't plan on doing it.
Where do I? Because then no structure.
Of course.
It gets really bad.
Yeah. That's one thing with children. I think that there's more nuances to raising children than a lot of people give credence to.
I think it's pretty easy, personally. Super easy. It's the easy thing in the world.
Okay, so yes and no. With the right mindset, it's easy. Because I was very self-focused at one point in my life, and having kids has sort of changed that focus to other people in my life, and was originally my closest family, and that's sort of, as I've gotten older, extended out further and further into people. And so until I really started to invest in my kids, like I want them to enjoy their life. At the same time, I can't give them everything. I don't want to give them everything, because there's something rewarding about going out into the world and retrieving something for yourself. It's something very rewarding, and I think it's something that's definitely needed in a person.
Absolutely. But my dad is overly supportive of it, but I come from a situation where I didn't necessarily need roadblocks, because the situation we were in was the roadblock.
Right.
Like, I didn't need my dad to say, you can't do this. I'm like, I can do this. Fuck you, Dad. Like,
oh, that's what I got.
Yeah, no. That I didn't need that, because our family's
listened.
Our family's like, we're in a shitty situation as a family. Like, oh, we're all suffering at the same. Because I come from a family that rewards being funny, which is rare. Yeah. Like in my family, at every family gathering, the person who gets first dibs on talking is the guy who can make everyone laugh. So my dad is the one. My dad and my older brother Jeremy are way funnier than me. Problem is, they can't fucking do it on stage. Nanner. I'm the winner. They're also racist at times, and that's a bit of an issue.
That's a Louisiana thing. I think.
They're way Republican, so they couldn't do stand-up anyway because they're too Republican, but they are the funniest people I've ever met. They have great comedic timing. But I come from that family. When my grandma died, we were downstairs making fun of her in the hospital, like, that dead bitch upstairs.
See, that's how I want to go out. I want my friends and family to rip the shit out of me.
My funeral will be an open mic.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
It'll be a roast / open mic.
It's supposed to be a celebration of me.
I want them to marionette me and have me give my own eulogy.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So this is weird, right? Dangling sunglasses on my face.
That'd be brilliant. Maybe robotics will have exceeded or gotten to the point where they can just string you up in an exoskeleton.
So I've always valued being funny, which actually going back to me immediately thinking, oh, this is something I'll do forever. That's because I always grew up around stand-up comedy. Jim Gaffigan's Beyond the Pale was the first album I ever bought with my own money, and I fell asleep watching Comedy Central Presents. But I never even thought to do comedy.
Actually, my first was always SNL or
watched a lot of SNL. I watched a lot of Tonight Show.
Yep, Tonight Show.
Conan O'Brien was my
Conan.
Conan is my fucking Johnny Carson. My dude. But so I grew up with comedy in my life, but I never ever thought to pursue it. I never even thought of an option. Comedy was never even an option in my brain. So the moment I did it was like the moment my brain was like, yeah, this has always fucking been there, you idiot. This is what makes the most sense.
That was my problem. Is I always had these ideas like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a rock star. Or, oh yeah, I was going to be
an actor.
I'm going to be, yeah. I always had these ideas, but I always talked myself out of them before I actually got there.
Yeah.
And just I guess the whole momentum of the financial life just sort of kept rolling me in this direction. And then one morning I woke up and I was completely miserable.
Like comedy fell into my lap, but like it also made the most sense. I was like,
right.
Yeah, this has always been a thing that you've loved. You've always respected stand-up comics more than anyone. You like, because I always was like, how do they fucking do it? And now I know how they do it. And it's great. And my family has always been the funniest fucking people. Like, seriously, whoever gets to talk at the dinner table is the person who makes the better jokes. They're the ones who have the privilege of talking. If you ain't funny, shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear it. Like, my grandma died. We were downstairs making fun of that dead old bitch, as we put it. My mom's dead. I was making jokes about her a week after she died on stage, which has been the most cathartic thing. Like, a week after my mom died, I was hosting an open mic in Lafayette. And 6 people showed up. It wasn't a big crowd. And only 3 open mic comedians were there. So I was like, well, all right, here's what we're going to do. No time limit. There's only 4 people here, me hosting. I'll do however long I want to do as a host. I won't light them. They can do however long they want to do as open mic comedians. Do whatever you want. So I was like, hey, you 6, come sit up front. Like, let's make this show. And they did. I'm like, oh, okay.
Nice.
And then they were totally on board. Like, every joke I made, they were like, we're with you. Let's do this.
Of course.
And that's the first time I told my dead mom jokes. And they were like, we're on board with this, man. We're supporting you with this. I was like, that's what I need right now. Thank you for not being weird about this. Because that's what happens. People freeze up like, oh, shit.
Well, that's one thing I've
your
liked
mom
about,
died. How dare you make fun of this? I'm like, well, it's my mom.
That's the thing I've always loved about comics is they're not afraid to, I guess, look at difficult things and find the silver thread of comedy in it. That's I guess my life has been a series of tragedies, which is it's not a story I like going into, but it's been a shitstorm. But I've always been able to, I guess, through the help of like listening to like old school George Carlin and stuff like that, the I guess negative facing comics, the more blue comics, they gave me that idea of I don't have to
fucking
be stuck in a shit tornado.
Stanhope is a bit about helping his mom commit suicide.
Oh, I loved that. That was so good. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing.
But like that's the kind of thing like it's like when I tell people audiences like, yeah, my mom died, they go, what? I'm like, shut the fuck up and let me joke about this, okay?
Right.
All our moms are gonna die, bro.
Right. Everyone dies. It's cool.
Yeah.
I get it. I used to fuck with people because there was always that oh your mom thing when you were growing up. My mom died when I was 10, and they used to like they'd be like they'd be like oh your mom. They're like, dude, my mom's dead, and they're like, oh man, I'm so sorry. It's like, no man, I'm
but
just
you are right. She is still a whore.
Exactly. Like she probably did like it. I'm just saying. I was like, no, she really is dead, but she.
No, yeah, my best friend, I mean, he's the one that pulls out the dead mom jokes, like, on the slick. Like, it was me, my 2 roommates, Chase being a comic, and my other roommate, Matt. My best friend was over here. And someone made a joke about someone's mom being, like, the hot one. Oh, his mom's hot. Oh, not as hot as K-Dog, though, which is what he called my mom. And then took everyone else. I got to admit, I caught on what you're saying. Everyone's like, oh, shit. Oh, come on, man. I was like, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, my best friend gets it. I told him when the day my mom died, I was like, hey, man, I'm calling you know, it happened. Mm-hmm. She's dead. I will tell you if I'm in a not joking mood.
Yeah.
Unless I specify, go nuts.
Game. Exactly.
And I've had those days.
Yeah.
As everyone should.
Oh, yeah. There were times.
I mean, there was always going to be days like, it's...
But 10 years later, I'm like, after that, I'm just...
There will probably be days where I have to do a set, and that's in my set list, and I'm like, you know what? Let's take that 5 minutes out of there.
Yeah.
That'll probably happen. Like, I'm not really in the mood to tell those jokes today. It's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just won't tell those jokes that day. I'll still tell them the next night.
Exactly.
Because you know what? I'm still doing this tomorrow.
Right.
As Chase Myers would say.
All right, man. We've done 2 hours. A great 2 hours. Love to have you on.
Very haphazard. And I'm sorry that as a comedian, I was less funny and much more inside baseball about comedy.
No, it's fine. That's kind of, I guess, Not, or I guess my idea about this particular show, like I like to let them go wherever they want to go, but I think it was a really good show.
I love talking process.
Yes.
If you get me with another comedian on here, we'll definitely be more comic.
So that's
on joking.
That's one thing I'm definitely going to take you up on is heading out to some of those shows
cool.
and recording backstage. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And like I live with a comic, so if it's a day where he's off work and
certainly
want to. Or actually, he worked here in Denham. He worked at the AT&T store. So
okay,
if a day where he wants to do this after he gets off work or something.
Yeah, that sounds great.
If the schedule works out, he'll be happy to come out too.
Certainly. And if there's ever anybody that wants to, that wants to come on the show, by all means, send them my information.
Sure.
I'm totally down. Like I want this to be more than just a show that has well-known people on. I want it to be a sounding board for all kinds of people.
Yeah.
If I have the time and you want to come on the show, hit me up. Come on the fucking show. That's the idea. I've had people on from this Saturday. I'm going. There's a guy from Finland who's coming on.
That's pretty awesome.
I just like having interesting people. If you're an interesting person and you got something you want to say or you need a sounding board, come on the show. Come yell at my face.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming out. Once again, your date's coming up.
I'm hosting the open mic at the station on March 20 something or other. I'm going to stall for a half a second while I look it up.
Words.
The 23rd. March 23rd, I'll be hosting that open mic with Tim Smith headlining it. March 31st at Atomic Pop Shop, 8 p.m. BYOB, $5 is the next listening party with Joe Pettis and Andrew Youngblood. On April 12th is the April 14th is the listening party after that with Laura Sanders from New Orleans, and May and all. They're coming up. Follow me on Tumblr, evanrabalais.tumblr.com for all my dates and bio and all that. Evan Rabalais on Facebook, Evan Rab at Twitter, Evan_Rabalais on Instagram. I'm easy to find. Really, I am.
Do it, people. All right, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.